And I even told the group here, I said, nobody's interested in changing it, so you guys don't need to speak, but they want to speak anyway.
I might just
Good evening, residents of Everett, Washington. I'd like to call to order the Everett City Council meeting of June 11th, 2025. For information on council meetings and how to participate, please visit everettwa.gov/city council. We have a big crowd tonight. Thank you for all being here. We really appreciate input and feedback from those that we represent. So clerk, please take the roll.
Mayor Franklin. Here. Vice President Zarlingo.
Here.
Councilmember Fossey. Here. Councilmember Bader.
Here.
Councilmember Ryan.
Here.
Councilmember Vogely. Here. Councilmember Tui.
Here.
President Schwab.
Here. Okay, I'd like to ask Council Member Zarlingo to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, and I'd like to ask Councilmember Ryan to lead us in the land acknowledgement.
Thank you. City Council wishes to acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Shahopes people and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty and their right to self-determination and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and waters. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes to bring about a future that includes their people, their voices, and their stories to make a more just and equitable society.
Thank you very much. Okay, on to old business. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes for June 4th, 2025?
Councilmember Ryan so moves.
Seconded.
Motion seconds are made. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fossey.
Abstain.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Well, good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, council and community. Great to see a packed house. I have just a few things this evening. First, the NAACP is hosting a Juneteenth event in Linwood at Martha Lake Park, June 14th, 11 to 3. So mark your calendar for that. And on June 18th, the Snohomish County is doing a flag raising for the Juneteenth flag at the campus from 3 to 4. And next, we have a number of firefighters here, new firefighters. So I'd like to welcome Chief DeMarco forward to introduce and honor our new team members.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Dave DeMarco, Fire Department. Seems like we've been doing this a lot over the last few years, but we have another group of new Everett firefighters joining us. They're at the end of their 20 weeks of basic training and are on the cusp of joining their compatriots out on the street starting next week. So I'm going to do a brief introduction on each. I'll ask that we're going to go in alphabetical order. They'll step forward. At the end, Council President is going to read you the oath of the firefighter, and then we'll invite you to shake hands with Council. All right, first tonight is Douglas Connolly. Doug, originally from North Carolina, lives in Shoreline with his wife, who is a firefighter paramedic at Fire District 4. And 2 retired racing Greyhound rescues. His educational background consists of a bachelor's degree in business administration and a master's in occupational therapy. Prior to pursuing a career in the fire service, Doug worked as an occupational therapist at the Seattle VA. In his free time, Doug enjoys running, music, cooking, traveling, floating rivers, and spending time with friends and family. Doug, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. Next is Drew Davison. Drew is a lateral entry firefighter paramedic. He currently resides in the Fairhaven area of Bellingham. He grew up in Sultan, spending the majority of his childhood exploring the great outdoors. He's been married to his wife for 17 fantastic years, and they have 2 children. For the last 11 years, Drew was employed as a firefighter paramedic with Whatcom County Fire District 7 in Ferndale. And prior to that, he worked in construction. Drew has a bachelor's in paramedicine from Central Washington. In his free time, Drew enjoys Ubering his kids to and from school and other events, and his family and are avid mountain bikers, skiers, travelers, and enjoy backpacking. He's honored to be here with the Everett Fire Department. Drew, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. I'm standing in the way, y'all. All right. Next is Zach Gillis. Zach has lived in Bellingham for 10 years with his partner. He grew up in Colorado, running around the mountains, playing sports and racing open wheel race cars all through high school. Zach has no previous fire service experience and worked at a brewery, has worked at a brewery, civil construction, cell towers, Alaska crab boats, sales and various outdoor guiding and coaching jobs. He went to college in Kansas and played baseball, graduating with a bachelor's in business. For fun, Zach likes hanging out with his friends, loved ones, doing anything from backcountry skiing and snowmobiling, mountain biking, rafting, camping, and more, and flying sports like paragliding and skydiving. Zach, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. All right, next up is Joseph Kosnick. Joseph is a legacy. I worked with his dad for about 28 years, and his dad is retired, and Joseph is now joining us. He was born and raised here in Everett and currently lives here with his girlfriend of 4 years. His educational background includes his high school diploma from Everett High, and he is continuing his education at Everett Community College. Prior to pursuing a career in the fire service, he worked at the city of Everett in Public Works, as well as on some remodeling jobs. In his free time, he enjoys golfing, working on his car, traveling, and spending time with friends and family, as well as hiking and camping. Joseph, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. All right, next is Devin Linson. Devin currently lives in Lake Stevens after having moved up from Battleground. After working in a chemistry lab for a few summers, he knew he had more to offer the world and his community than just analytical work, so he finished his degree in biology and made the switch to the fire service and hasn't looked back since. He volunteered as a firefighter EMT for about 8 months with the Camas Washougal Fire and Rescue before joining Everett Fire. While volunteering and earning his EMT, Devin worked at Legacy Health Salmon Creek as a nurse's assistant. In terms of hobbies, Devin loves working out, throwing hammers, skiing, visiting his family, and catching up with friends and family at home. He enjoys reading and journaling and really enjoys training and improving his skills and overall health. Devin, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. All right, next is Nicholas Martisich. Nick was born and raised in North Everett, but recently bought a home with his fiancee in Marysville. After graduating from Everett High School, Nick attended Everett Community College, where he played a year of college baseball and earned his AA in fire science. Throughout his college years, Nick worked at the Port of Everett as a seasonal helper and would travel to Alaska during the summers, where he was a commercial fisherman. After graduating from Everett Community College, Nick began working at 2 fire districts, North County Regional Fire Authority and Skagit County Fire District 13, as a part-time firefighter. Some of his favorite hobbies are fishing, hunting, and golfing. Nicholas, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. Next is Joshua Swanson. Josh grew up in the Auburn, Enumclaw area, and now he and his fiancee live in Bonnie Lake with their 2 dogs. They're super excited to be expecting their first baby girl this fall. Prior to being hired at Everett Fire, Josh was in real estate, did carpentry, and was a volunteer firefighter for a brief period of time. Josh went to Pierce College, where he played baseball for a couple of years, and then to Central Washington University, where he earned his bachelor's degree. Josh enjoys hunting, fishing, hiking, backpacking, snowboarding, and just recently picked up golf. He's very excited about this next chapter of life here at Everett Fire. Josh, welcome to the Everett Fire Department. And last but not least, Casey Wildgrub. Casey is originally from San Francisco and now lives in Port Orchard with his wife. Casey brings over 6 years of professional experience in the fire service, having previously served with Aurora Fire and Rescue in Colorado. He's a graduate of the San Francisco School of Arts and the City College of San Francisco's Fire Academy. Casey is a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps in the infantry, where he deployed with the 1st Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion. Outside of work, Casey is passionate about forest gardening and learning about sustainable, self-sufficient ecosystems. He finds peace in studying and working with nature, enjoys drawing, and when not in the garden or sketching, he's out experiencing or traveling with his wife, or hosting dinners for friends. He's very excited to join the Everett Fire, to grow and build a career here, and plans to retire from us. Casey, welcome to the Everett Fire Department.
Right. Thank you. And as a 30-year veteran of the Everett Fire Department, welcome. And it's an honor to be here before you. So I'd like to read the pledge, firefighter pledge. Do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully execute the duties of firefighter with integrity, courage, and dedication? Do you pledge to serve our community, to protect lives and property, and to uphold the mission and values of the Everett Fire Department? Furthermore, will you respect the trust placed in you by the citizens and perform your duties to the best of your ability? Do you take this oath freely and with commitment to the highest standards of professionalism and service? If so, please respond with "I do." All right, congratulations. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Thank you much. Appreciate that.
Well, very exciting. Welcome to all of our new firefighters. Thank you for your service. Our community is grateful to have you. Finally, I want to take just a brief moment to honor and remember a remarkable member of our community, Marilyn Quincy. Marilyn dedicated her life to service to her neighbors, to this community, and to causes she believed in. Whether through her volunteer work, her advocacy, or the simple kindness she extended to everyone she met, Marilyn left a lasting mark on Everett. She was a person with deep integrity and quiet strength, and we are all very grateful for her contributions to the historic records of Black families and the contributions to our region at the Everett Public Library. Our hearts are with Marilyn's family, friends, and the broad community of those that she impacted throughout her life. So with that, I have no further comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Okay, so on to public comments. So there are 3 opportunities to speak in public comments. One is general speaking, and I know that some of you have childcare and things and have to make a short trip. And so you're welcome to speak, of course. Everyone can speak during public comments, which is now. There will also be 2 other opportunities if you do choose. So one will be based on the comp plan, which is after item 10. And then the third one will be an open public meeting on items 18 and 19. So I just want to make that announcement. So, and if you didn't get an opportunity to fill out a information sheet, we ran out. And since our building next door is closed due to remodeling. So please just state your name and your city of residence, and if you could talk slow a little bit, because we'll just do that for the official record. So I guess right now we'll just move on to Angie, and Angie has a list of written comments. Should we list those names first?
Yes, so there's over 70, so please bear with me. And the first set of names are in relation to the outdoor multi-use facility. Jeff Feinberg, Bill Helm, Artie Probati, Terry Potter, Jeff Cook, Les and Lisa Tripp, Dave Berquist, Heinz and Carol Roy, William and Linda Martin, Ashley Murray, Douglas Tilford, Jamie French Bielak, Abby Ferry, Sandra Whitcomb, Sam Jeffries, Raymond Smith, Julie Fanslow, Jean and Bob Holt, Pam Horn, Tammy Dunn, Stacy Koger, Stephen Tammy Malley, Barbara Frederick, Kyle McGrath, Bob Mayer, Donna Mayer, Jill Mayer, Amber Hopper, Margot Wright, Tanya Barden, Lee Shobe, Sarah Wolf, Douglas Arnold, Jeremy Olson, Paul Schubert, Sherry Sears, Crystal Baker, Nelson Forel, Mike Albrecht, David McGaw, Janelle Cook, Perry and Kathy Grant, Jonathan Shapiro, Anthony Sardin, Nicolette Gagner, Ken Whelan, Michael Malahan, Laura Smith, Deborah Lowry Johnson, Chris Bushy, Jason Allen, Steve Austin, Naomi Johnson, Jeremy Reed, Nathaniel Engine, Paul Rand, Mary McManus, Jean Setti, Kevin Shannon, Kim Becca, Joanne Leithart, Dan Wickersham, David Hope. And then the remaining names are wrote in about the comp plan: Dale Bowers, Karen Peterson, Alexis Boyes, Katie Vall, Lisa Hall, Angela DeFilippo. And these were provided to council, legal, city clerk, and administration to be part of the record.
Okay, do we have anyone online to speak?
We do have 4 individuals.
Are they going
online.
to speak at beginning or in other items?
One moment. So it looks like the majority are on the comp plan. So can I just ask them if they can
Yeah.
wait? Okay. Um,
This is a good problem to have when we have so many people that want to speak. So bear with us today. So I appreciate you.
Benjamin, you wrote you're wanting to speak about the comp plan. Would you be able to wait until we get to that item?
Well, why don't we just have them speak right away so we can let them.
Okay, he actually declined to be promoted as a panelist, so I'm taking he doesn't want to speak
Okay,
right
why don't
now.
we just go ahead and just do the online for a sense of organization here.
And is David Koenig for comments if questioned?
Yep.
Okay. He left.
Okay.
Mary, could you wait till time we get to the agenda item of the comp plan?
I can wait.
Thank you. Sabrina, could you wait till we get to the comp plan to speak?
Yes, I'll wait till we get to the comp plan.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll be open. If you can wait, if not, that's fine too. Now just be open public comments. And we really appreciate you guys coming here to speak. Keep in mind, it's not a dialogue. So we won't be, if you have questions for council members, you can talk to them after the meeting or during email or at other times, not during the meeting. And really appreciate appreciation people speaking. It's really not a cheering or clapping time too, because we want to get through this and we want to respect everyone's opinion, whether we agree with them or not. So just out of respect, I keep the applause to a mild roar. Okay, so
Okay.
let's
So we'll start with Alvaro, if you could please come to the podium. And please press the button on the mic and state your full name, city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak. And this will be followed by Melinda.
Álvaro Guillén, resident of Monlake Terrace. Mayor and council members. I want to start by thanking the city of their efforts and outputs with the zoning map to maximize density and meet growth projections, while also advocating for inclusionary zoning. A few weeks ago, South Everett residents were here in this room sharing the stories about housing instability, connection to their community, and concerns about being able to stay in the place that they call home. Stories of 11 people in a 2-bedroom apartment, children having to sleep in a bathtub or under the dining table, a domestic violence victim hosting 3 other victims in her apartment, and all living in fear of being displaced. At the village, people share with us over 100 stories every month, and most of them are about their struggles to pay the rent. The perspective of low-income communities are often not reflected in policy decision makings. Next week, you will have the opportunity to change that. The inclusionary zoning proposal, shaped through extensive community engagement, requires a modest portion of new housing developments to be set aside for working families who are increasingly priced out of the city. Inclusionary zoning is a simple but powerful tool. Currently, 14 jurisdictions across Puget Sound have inclusionary zoning policies, including Snohomish County. It is one way to ensure that families who live here now can still live here tomorrow, and that the future generation will have the same chance. Removing this policy from the final draft disregards the time, energy, and lived experience that community members brought to this process. It sends a message that affordability and anti-displacement strategies are negotiable, and even when the stakes are this high. This comprehensive plan is about more than numbers and zoning codes. It's about people, it's about values, and it's about trust. And it's about building a city that works for everyone. I urge you to maintain inclusionary zoning to the final plan so that we can build an Everett where everyone belongs. Thank you.
Thank you. Melinda, if you could come to the podium and followed by Esmeralda. Please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes. Oh, could you please press the button on the mic? I'm sorry. And you can just leave that on, yeah.
Melinda Cervantes here. Good evening again, council members and mayor. Thank you for the opportunity to come back and continue raising our voices. As a resident of South Everett District 4, I am deeply concerned for my neighbors about the recent recommendation to remove inclusionary zoning from the comprehensive plan. This policy is crucial for families to have the chance to stay in our neighborhood. Without it, developers will not be required to include affordable housing units, and that will only speed up the displacement of longstanding residents. Just recently, I attended a powerful presentation led by youth leaders in our community. I was shocked to learn that there is only one shelter for families in the entire county. That is incredibly alarming. What will happen to our families if there's no affordable housing and no resources to turn to? I also hear heartbreaking stories about how experiencing homelessness can severely impact people's lives, their health, their stability, their sense of safety and hope in times as difficult as this. The last thing we should do is turn our backs on families in need. Casino Road has always been a diverse, hardworking, resilient community. Many families are already struggling to afford rent, and every increase puts them at risk of losing not just a home, but also their access to essential resources, like those offered at the Village in Casino that are helping lives. We want our neighbors to stay. We want them to be part of the growth and investment coming to our neighborhood, not pushed out by it. That's why I'm asking you from the heart, please keep inclusionary zoning in the comprehensive plan. This is a real opportunity to show that Everett values all of its communities, not just in words, but in action. Thank you for listening and for considering the real life impact your decisions will have on our families.
Thank you. Esmeralda. Followed by Joe. Please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Esmeralda Rivas, and I'm a 20-year-old resident of Everett and an advocate for the Casino Road community. As a staff member at Connect Casino Road Resource Navigator, I support families in all our neighborhood. I'm here today to express my gratitude for incorporating as much as of the community's input into the final draft of the comprehensive plan. However, I also respectfully remind you of the severe consequences residents will face if our voices are not fully heard. I am deeply disappointed that the Planning Commission has recommended excluding inclusionary zoning from the adopted plan. This policy is crucial in preventing Casino Road families from being displaced. It is really heartbreaking for me, especially this past week, to have families come to me with eviction notices in their hands, and eviction notices they can't even read. They don't understand. And I have to be the one to tell them the bad news. And trying to find resources for these people, for our community, it's so frustrating, and it breaks my heart every time I have to tell them, I'm sorry, I can't find anything, or there's no other place where it's cheaper that you could live there. And that just, I go home and I thank God for what I have. Families want to stay here because they always tell me that they survive on all the resources we have here at our community center. Most of them don't drive, which we already talked about last time we were here. And they depend on us for everything from English classes, from, learning how to be more positive with themselves, how to raise their children, parenting classes. We give the community so much, and they're so grateful, and they're so sad that they might have to leave, and they're not going to have that sense of community, sense of belonging, and going to find another place where they have to start all over again. So I ask to ensure the community's voices is reflected in the plan and to include zoning in their comprehensive plan. This were argue, sorry, I get very with this because I see it every day. This will guarantee the existing Casino Road residents have access to affordable, safe, and quality housing with the new development. Thank you for hearing me out.
Next, we'll move to Nick, actually, if you could come to the podium. And please state your full name and city residence, and that'll be followed by Rich.
Good evening. My name is Nick Eckert, and I am a resident of Everett in the Riverside Historic District. I actually live just 3 doors down from Cassie. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. So I came here this evening, and I really didn't want to come here this evening. It wasn't my intent until about 3 hours ago, and I realized something, that myself and some of my fellow neighbors have been wronged by the city, and we need to correct it. The situation is it's a building permit, and it's building permit B 2412-031. My neighbor has filed to do an ADU. No problems with that. I have no problem with an ADU. I do have a problem with the mass of it, and so do several of my neighbors. Now, not only that, but the survey was incorrect on the property. And I've actually spent $15,000 suing my neighbor over this. And we finally do have a settlement. It's not signed yet, but the survey is incorrect. So all of the lot calculations and everything for the ADU is incorrect. And I actually submitted all of this information via email to the planning department 2 months ago. And last month, I personally spoke with the planning director and let him know about the issues, and he wrote it down and he said he'd get back to me on it. Now, this evening, I've been talking to my neighbors. My neighbors have wanted to come to the Historical Commission and let them know about their thoughts and feelings about the proposed ADU. Nobody's against the proposed ADU, but there are design considerations that we would like to be heard by the applicant and by the Historical Commission. Lo and behold, this evening, when I was looking at it, it still hasn't popped up on the agenda. And in fact, here is a copy of the May agenda, and the May agenda doesn't even have it on the May agenda. And what I have here is that according to Alan Wetzel, who's the long-term planning department staff, it was at the Historical Commission on the 27th, and it was approved by the Historical Commission on the 27th. So that means myself and all my fellow neighbors did not have any opportunity at all to come and speak to the issue before the Historical Commission. Now, currently, right now, I don't believe the building permit has been approved yet. I don't know if it's still on the planning director's desk for approval because he has the final say in it. But I think that it should have to go back to the Historical Commission so that way myself and fellow neighbors can go ahead and provide comments to it. And so that is my concern. And, the reason some of my neighbors come and talk to me is that for several years, I was president of the Riverside Historical or Riverside Neighborhood Association. I was also the chairman of the Council of Neighborhoods. And I also used to sit on the tree committee here in the city of Everett for 6 years. I also personally knew Drew Nielsen, and we worked on the Broadway design guidelines in his kitchen when he was on the planning department. And then later on, we came back and we worked on that together when I had returned from overseas for military service. So I thank you very much for your time. I would very much appreciate it if you would consider this. And I do also want to let you know is that I did email staff today as soon as I found out about it. And so 2 of the staff members are on vacation, and I haven't gotten a response back from the planning director yet.
I see the planning director nodding, so I'm just making sure we have his contact information. Okay, great. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Rich, please come to the podium, and if Dan wants to speak now, he can follow. If not, you can wait till we get to the outdoor event center. For
Good
Dan
evening.
Wickerstrom.
Good evening. My name is Rich Ryan. I'm a 13-year resident here of Everett. Last week, we asked the body to take a stand for the families who rely on the Early Learning Center here at the Everett Community College, and the response was, that's not our jurisdiction. It wasn't Snohomish County's jurisdiction either the last time this program was on the chopping block, and yet they stepped up. They negotiated funding, they found solutions, and they helped save the program, because leadership means sometimes stepping up when something isn't technically your responsibility. Now we're watching it happen again. The Early Learning Center is scheduled to close at the end of the month. No plan in place, no transition partner confirmed, and around 100 families left pretty much scrambling while this council has remained silent. You know, just up the street, the Full Life Care is being forced to shut its doors as well. The only adult day health program around for low-income seniors and disabled adults. Why? Medicare cuts. Again, Washington, D.C. pulls the rug out and our most vulnerable citizens pay the price. How many more times do we have to watch the story play out before someone here says enough? Are we seeing a pattern? Want to be clear, every time this council says not my jurisdiction, another program disappears, another safety net vanishes, and another piece of our community is left behind. We can't just sit in these chambers and acknowledge the problem. We have to act, because if we wait for someone else to lead, there won't be anything left to save. $140 million stadium is being pushed while child care centers are closing, while our elders are losing support, and while our community falls behind. I get the appeal of big projects, the ribbon cuttings, the headlines, but I really ask you sincerely, who are we building this for if the families here can't afford to live here? The way I was raised, you don't play until the work is done. You have to take care of business first, whereas this might not be your jurisdiction, it's your responsibility as the voice for this community. This council can't prioritize basic human needs before entertainment, then what exactly are we doing here? So I just really want to ask the question plain and simple. Is this council ready for the wave of federal cuts heading our way? Because they're coming for our education. They're coming for our healthcare. They're coming for our housing. They're coming to the very services that hold this community together. When those cuts hit, will the answer once again be not my jurisdiction? Or will somebody here finally say enough is enough and step up? Because the people of Everett can't afford silence. We can't afford inaction. And we can't afford leaders to look the other way while our community gets hollowed out. We need you to care and we need you to act while there's still time.
Thank you.
And
so
I would make a request here.
Yeah.
It's really disruptive when people come up to us. So just wait till your turn. You'll get a chance. Thank you.
does Dan Wickersham want to wait or speak now? Thank you. So the remaining want to wait till we get to 17 and then 18 and 19.
Okay.
I just want to check in with David online because he's now accepted
Okay.
to be a panelist.
Great.
Okay. Right. So for the general, so if you wanted to speak during general comment, public comment, and you didn't fill out a form because there were none, you can come to the podium one at a time. So we'll start with you. You state your full name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Franklin, council members. Thank you for hearing from the community today. My name is Demi Chatters, and it is my honor to serve this community as the chair of the Planning Commission. I'm here to comment on the comp plan. 2044 comp plan. The last time we looked at this document was in 2015, where we were looking ahead to 2035. Back in 2015, we had about 45,000 housing units in the city. And the council was aware at that time, based on the growth trajectory, the population growth trajectories, that we were going to need to add about 17,000 housing units by 2035. The reality is that our land use and our zoning policies have not allowed us to keep pace with this target. So at this time, we are not on track to meet our targets from the comp plan that we approved in 2015, looking ahead to 2035. So today in 2025, we are looking ahead to 2044. We now have approximately 49,000 housing units, and we need an additional 38,000 housing units to meet the needs of our people by 2044. So if you do the math on that, you realize that that is nearly an 80% increase in the number of housing units needed in an extremely short span of time, which is 20 years. So today our city is severely struggling under the weight of too little supply and rapidly increasing demand, which only serves to do more of what we've seen over the past years, which is to apply steady upward pressure to those housing prices. It has been unyielding and it has been extremely difficult for families to manage. And as you know, Everett is a majority renter city, meaning that more of our residents are home renters than they are homeowners. So the data tells us that about 50% of our renters are cost burdened, meaning they pay more than 30% of their income in rent. And about half of those are severely cost burdened, meaning they pay more than 50% of their income for housing. So understanding this, it is no mystery as to why Everett has seen an alarming increase in homeless individuals and families that has occurred over the last decade. It tracks right along with this. And the data is very clear on how an explosion in the homeless population impacts the city. It displaces families, it strains neighborhood stability, it forces people into overcrowded living situations, and it creates economic desperation that results in increases in illegal activities and crimes of opportunity like theft and vandalism. It puts extraordinary pressure on our city services, especially our police, our emergency service workers, and our healthcare systems, and it creates conditions that make crime more likely. It makes our city less livable, and it makes our people less well. But you don't really need statistics to tell you this. If you talk to the people, they will tell you they feel it. But don't just talk to homeowners. That is the population that we typically hear from. You got to get out there and talk to the renters. Talk to folks who have not had the economic privilege of owning their home for years, like you and I. Those are our people too. And we have an obligation and a responsibility to care for and plan for generations of those people too. They are also ours. So I say all of this to remind us about the opportunity that the comp plan revision brings. It is a bold plan, but it is balanced and thoughtful in its approach to serve the interest and cultivate opportunity for the entire Everett community. Please consider this as you deliberate on the recommended plan. We did not get it right in 2015. Let's get it right in 2025. Those were my remarks as the chair of the Planning Commission. I have a very brief remark that is a personal remark on behalf of myself, if you would indulge.
Please, quick.
I will be very quick. I was very disappointed in the Planning Commission in their choice to remove the recommendation for inclusionary zoning in what was sent to you. I stand firmly beside our community members in the Casino Road neighborhood. They have done a lot of work. As I just described, it is catastrophic to displace populations of people within a city. I stand beside our neighbors. I hope, council, that you will take an additional look at that. Kicking the can down the road to a sub-area plan, that is not a good option. Let's stand by our folks today and ensure that we are protecting the interests of the entire Everett community by taking another look at the inclusionary zoning recommendations that were included in prior versions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So is there anyone else that would like to speak that wasn't able to fill out a form? I'll get to you. Okay. Okay. No problem. So please state your full name and city residence.
Are we live? Yeah.
You have 3 minutes.
So I'm Dr. Jonathan Shapiro. I've moved recently to Everett, unfortunately, just recently enough that I had to terminate my run for city council, as I think most of you know. Given the enthusiastic civic participation of Mr. Martin over the last 48 hours, I don't feel compelled to repeat the written comments that I've submitted. I trust you've all seen them. But in light of the withheld and or omitted information that's been offered to the public in the budget for the multi-use facility and the comment periods, I feel very strongly that the public's ability to respond, to comment on, to raise issues about the multi-use facility has been fundamentally compromised. And I therefore, with apologies, stand here to raise a point of order on tonight's on tonight's agenda. I'm asking the council, have we actually satisfied the public disclosure criteria sufficiently that it is legitimate to even vote on a $2+ million contract, given that critical financial information has been withheld from the public? And my opinion is it's not, and I ask you to take that into account and consider whether those items should be removed from the agenda tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, Bill, if you'd like to come up. Can you please state your full name and city of residence? You have 3 minutes.
Yes. Is this on? Hello? Okay. Hi, I'm Jillian Walker. I live here in Everett. Wasn't expecting such moving words to move me before this. I'm here to with regard to what Everett has planned for the EOEC. I would just like to speak about Bayside Cafe. First of all, I am excited to hear like that big positive change is underway for Everett, if that is what this project is about. And that makes me happy. I understand it's a complex and delicate process with so many moving parts. From my point of view, I have just watched my friends who own Bayside really struggle with the ambiguity of it. And living in ambiguity is torment. And this relates a lot to just living, the cost of living, the cost of being an artist, a business owner, a little guy. And it's difficult as an adult that is unsure where life takes you, or it's difficult as a friend when you don't know where to tell your friends or family where to find you, or as a parent who it's your responsibility to provide stability that a child deserves and needs, that we all deserve and need. And it's especially difficult as a business owner, which reasons I don't have time to list, so I'm going to skip all of that. And as a venue and curator for artists, musicians, and activists, which Bayside is. And that is me, an artist and activist, but I've been given the opportunity to play my music there, which is incredible to have that safe space for me to do that. And that is only to illustrate just the way that Bayside has given back to the community. And it really is just important to me to be here to explain that I want you to take care of them. All of the businesses, really. Bayside is the one I'm connected with the most. But in pushing this project forward, like there are a lot of real people that are on the other side of it that are working really hard and struggling to make ends meet and struggling with this economy and everything that's happening. And it's if this project is going to be voted on and pushed forward, just please take care of us, of all of us, including all the people that we're talking about before. And yeah, that's pretty much, I would talk for way too long if I had the time. So just the value that these businesses are bringing to the community is immense. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak that didn't fill out a form at this time? Okay, so I'll move just to the individual on Zoom just to recheck. David, would you like to speak now or wait?
I'm willing to wait. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then once again, we'll have 2 more opportunities, one based on the multipurpose facility and one on the comp plan. So thank you for your patience and getting through that. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on to council comments. Councilmember Zarlingo.
Well, in recognition of the length of tonight's meeting, I guess I'll dispense with the liaison reports. Just thank all those who've commented. Congratulate our new firefighters. I note that 2 of them have done what I did many years ago, come from Colorado here to Washington. And though I've thrown hammers before, it's never been deliberately. So anyway, that's it up for me tonight.
Councilmember Fosse.
I wanted to say congratulations to our new firefighters and thank you for your willingness to serve. And I saw that 7 of the 8 at least got the mustache memo. I saw Scott leave. I can come back and ask him a question when we get closer to that on the agenda
Okay. Yep.
regarding the public comments. But thank you everyone for speaking.
Thank you. Councilmember Bader.
No comment, no report. Thanks.
Councilmember Ryan.
Great. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Great to see a full house here tonight. Let's see. So last Thursday, I attended the Together We Can End Gun Violence seminar. I was glad to see Chief Drews there, and I appreciate the continued commitment to address violence in our community. On Friday, I attended and provided the keynote speech at the Housing Consortium's conference about the need to provide housing for all. It's very timely for tonight's discussion. This weekend, I spent a whole bunch of time and way too much money at Sorticulture, so I hope everybody enjoyed their time there as well. Earlier tonight, we had our Parks and Built Environment Committee meeting. Dan Ernessy, Tyler Chisholm, and Liz Stenning from the Downtown Everett Association joined to talk more about our ongoing policy work to address vacancies in downtown Everett. And it was really reassuring to hear the good work that our team is doing internally and also with partnerships, external partnerships with groups like the Downtown Everett Association to work on vacancies and encouraging owners to have a more activated storefront downtown just to help with addressing just the viability and livability of our downtown space. Liz shared that there's been a number of new businesses that have come through over the past few years, which shows the good work and the fruition of that good work. So just this year, there's been 7 businesses that have opened so far in downtown Everett with 5 more planned. A few of them weren't ready for prime time yet with the announcement, but I look forward to hearing who those are. There's also some policy suggestions that they provided to council about things that council can do legislatively to help with addressing vacancies downtown. And also in response to Jillian, another topic that we talked about this evening was about the city's efforts to establish a creative district downtown, which should help to provide the incubator services and resources for our creative community and for the arts community. So looking forward to seeing that come in. I wanted to share a reminder that Monday is the Lowell Neighborhood Association meeting and the Port Gardner Neighborhood Association's meetings. And Tuesday is going to be Valley View. And then next Wednesday, the Kells Cafe, Kells Cafe has a ribbon cutting at 12:30. It's a business over on Hewitt between Lombard and Oaks. I've been peering in through the windows for the last year or so and really excited to see them open. They make a really good cup of coffee. I stopped by earlier this week for a soft opening and did a great job. And also next Wednesday, the Everett Station District Alliance is hosting their annual street fair at the Everett Station from 5 to 8 p.m. So I hope you get a chance to stop by. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Vogely.
Thank you. The more people you know, the more people come to be in your life in one way or another, the more likely you will be affected by the death of those people. Let life affect you. With love grows compassion, with death grows empathy, with life grows learning if you let it. 2 important people in my life died this week. Linda, I visited with weekly. We did art together. We talked of life and history. Brian is a famous person who I only met once, but he filled my childhood and adulthood with great music. I felt closer to my mom, now passed, through both of them. I want to just give a real huge rest in peace to Linda because she is one of our unhoused neighbors and she was genuinely my friend. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Tui.
I just want to give a shout out to Tyler and Kari and all of the staff and the volunteers that put together the Sorticulture. Was a great hit over the weekend. The weather was super and they did a lot of work, so it really paid off. So I want to thank them for that. That's it.
Okay, thank you. On to administration.
Just one item this Saturday, we have 3 of our Everett Public High Schools graduations taking place at Angel of the Winds Arena. Everett High's at 11, Cascades at 3, and then Jackson finishes up the day at 7. We know there's also some expressive activity planned for downtown on Saturday as well. We'll have staff from Public Works and police continuing to monitor any significant traffic impacts. And we want to encourage anyone attending an event downtown on Saturday afternoon to give yourself a little extra time to get there, to think about carpooling, taking public transportation, or if you can, walking or biking or doing a ride share. So it should be a busy day on Saturday in Everett. And that's it.
Thank you. City Attorney David Hall.
No report, no executive session.
Thank you very much. Okay, on to consent items 1 through 6. Do I have a motion?
So move the motion on the consent.
Second.
Okay, motion and seconds are made. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, we still have a lot to go. And when we were doing these scheduling, we try to even out the resolutions, but there's just been so many. So this is about as light as we can make tonight. So moving on to item number 7, Council Bill 2505-33. Third and final reading, adopt an ordinance creating a special improvement project entitled Lexington Drainage Fund 336, Program 030, and repealing ordinance number 3892-22. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Are there any questions? Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, item number 8, Council Bill 2505-34, third and final reading, adopt an ordinance closing a special improvement project entitled Wall Street Connector Funds 303, Program 129, and established by ordinance number 3933-22. Do I have a motion?
Councilmember Ryan, so moves.
Second.
Motion and seconds been made. Any questions? Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, moving on to council action item number 9. Council Bill 2505-35, third and final reading, adopt an ordinance creating a special improvements project entitled Lowell Riverfront Trail Improvements Fund 308, Program 084 to accumulate construction costs for the Lowell Riverfront Trail Improvements Project in the amount of $1,649,860. Do I have a motion?
Councilmember Ryan, so moves.
Second.
Okay, motion second's been made. Clerk, do we have any questions? Okay, a lot. Clerk, please take the roll. We're ready.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes, okay. The next 8 action items are related to the Outdoor Event Center. I'll read Council Bill, is the first 2? 3? Okay, I'll read the first 3 and then we'll have a briefing from staff, correct? Okay. Item number 10, Council Bill 2505-30, third and final reading, adopt an ordinance creating a special improvement project entitled Everett Outdoor Event Center Fund 342, Program 052 to accumulate costs for the planning and development of the outdoor event center, including costs for design services, consultant, and legal fees, and initial property acquisition costs for the Everett Outdoor Event Center project in the amount of $4,800,000. So is that's all we need to do for now, correct?
Yeah, so the first 3 are the third readings that you heard about before, and then the ones after that are,
Okay, but the first one is the one we need to do first.
yes, they are in that order for a
Makes
reason.
sense. Yeah, first is first, right? Got it. All right. So at this time, we have a briefing.
Yes.
And then we'll have community comment.
Yes, I think I'll have public comment too,
Okay.
so.
Good evening, Mayor Franklin, Council President Schwab, council members, Scott Pattison, staff. First of all, I want to thank you. We've been through one heck of a journey together, and I appreciate the hard and good work that we've put into this project together. So thank you for getting us to where we are today. For too long, the phrase, "it's good enough for Everett," has echoed through our city, a quiet acceptance. Maybe it's a generational mindset that settling for good is somehow enough. But Everett has grown, our community has evolved, and so have our expectations. It's time we raise the bar. The new outdoor event center isn't just another project, it's a bold statement. A commitment to excellence, a space to design, not just to serve Everett, but to celebrate. Tonight, you have the opportunity to move this project forward to help turn the page from good enough to something truly great. Everett deserves this. Tonight, I've got Chad Volpe, owner of the 7th Inning Stretch, and our beloved Aqua Sox with us, and he would like to speak. And he'll be followed by Ben Franz with a short presentation. Ben Franz, consultant from SOJ. Thank you.
Mayor Franklin, council members. I'll keep this short and brief, but I'll echo Scott that this has been a long journey with a lot of work as we've evaluated this facility and what the future of Aqua Sox baseball looks like in Everett. And as we've gone down this path and talked with you all many times over a few years and with members of the community, it's clear that the way this project goes forward is not just Aqua Sox baseball, but it's really a facility that has many events. It's got the USL soccer. It's got other non-sports events, concerts, motocross, weddings, graduations, you name it. It's got a park component that enables, if not 24/7 access for the whole community, as many people to access the facility whenever they want, however they want to interact with it in downtown. We've worked with the USL hand in hand during this as the private partners that are not only trying to make this happen and see sort of the future in the next 30, 40 years of soccer and baseball happen in Everett, but also as private partners that are coming to the table with significant investment because we believe in Everett. We believe in the future of what this outdoor event center could be. And in working with not just the city, but with the county and with the state and many parties involved in this, all being directly involved with their comments, with their financial commitments, all to ensure that Everett has a place to call home for entertainment and sports and whatever creative minds think could happen in a facility like this. So baseball is happy to be the anchor tenant. We're happy to help facilitate financial commitment. The USL is right there with us, but we imagine this to be a whole lot more and all the things that that could entail in the future. So with that, thank you.
Excellent. Council members, council president, council members, mayor, it's good to see you. I'm going to try to find the start of the slideshow here. All right. Ben Franz with SOJ. It's been a pleasure to work for you and the mayor and the staff on behalf of the city to advance this project. And I like the opening statements, you know, how far we've come. We still have a long way to go, although tonight is a really important step forward. You saw the bulk of this presentation 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. There's a couple of key updates that I will highlight that are really positive progress for the overall project. You have 3 ordinances, approval of the $4.8 million, adopt the budget amendments, book the appropriations, initial tools, and approval of initial tools for property acquisition. And you've got 5 overall action items. I think we all know the background and history here. The Aqua Sox have been a member of the Everett community for a very long time. A number of years ago, MLB literally changed the rules for us that made Funko Field insufficient to meet those MLB standards and support those professional athletes. We went through a comprehensive EIS to study impacts of Funko Field and a downtown alternative. Ultimately, you selected a downtown site as the preferred alternative for a host of, I think, very appropriate reasons. And then you hired a progressive design build team to advance that work, primarily to focus on budget and constructability, to make sure that we could advance a facility that lives within the means of the city of Everett. And tonight you'll take actions to keep us on schedule and keep this project moving forward. As Chad mentioned, through the last year, we've also added another key partner in the project with the United Soccer League, and you've heard from them multiple times, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. Quick highlights again with the Progressive Design Build team. The focus of their work has been to refine the program, and those are all the components that are required either by the United Soccer League or the Aqua Sox to meet their league standards. And the other key components that we want in the project: public open space, porosity, and make sure we're delivering a world-class game-ready facility within the means the city of Everett. And I'm really pleased with the work that team has done to validate a path forward within budget. They've also done some site work We've had extensive meetings with the PUD to understand utility relocation. I mentioned several weeks ago that that is a significant part of the cost of the project. So having those advanced conversations is really critical. We've also had select teams on the ground doing surveying, geotechnical work, and early environmental analysis. I shared with you 2 weeks ago the progress in negotiations with our two key partners. I'm pleased to share tonight that those two partners have agreed to key terms that are consistent with our goals and targets for generating revenue out of this facility, to support debt service for the project, and to ensure that the space is activated. And lastly, to ensure that the city's overall operating burden for running the facility is significantly reduced. We've made tremendous progress, and I really appreciate the commitments that both the AquaSox and USL continue to demonstrate to this project. We've identified shared revenue opportunities, determined responsibility for master concessionaire, define the building program, which is critical, and then establish a range of capital contributions for each team. And then, as I mentioned, significantly, the teams committing to assuming the bulk of day-to-day operations and maintenance responsibility for the facility. That significantly reduces the city's burden once the whole facility becomes operational. We shared a couple weeks ago snapshots of a case study. We had the good fortune to go to Knoxville, Tennessee, and see what I think many of us think is the best example of a comparable facility we may be able to achieve to truly benefit the city of Everett. So this is a snapshot of the site just outside of downtown Knoxville, light industrial area, underutilized, elevated roadway. This is what they were able to deliver in a pretty impressive public-private partnership, and included the city and the county as equal partners in debt issuance to support the building of the stadium, and a private owner of the team contributing a majority of the land to that city and county partnership. And you'll see here what they were able to deliver is not only a sports facility that accommodates soccer and baseball, but also accommodates housing, condos, office space, and event space. Pretty impressive model, not easy to attain. And I think I shared with you 2 weeks ago that as we left Knoxville, the mayor turned to Scott Pattison and I and said, I want you guys to figure out how to make that happen for the city of Everett. So that's been the challenge that we've taken since that time, and pleased tonight to deliver the steps to you that will allow us to pursue that path fully. Additional benefits that we learned of in the city of Knoxville: year-round flexible event space. The photo you're seeing here is of space that's right above home plate, serves as club space during game times, but then is incredible event space available the balance of the time. It's revitalized an area adjacent to downtown that has historic structures, and many businesses reported that it's enhancing overall retention and recruitment efforts in the city of Knoxville. A couple other key things that we saw we were excited about, and it's part of our core program, our core goals for this stadium. This event center is a public realm, public walkways all the way around the outfield, around the entire facility, and a children's playground. And if you can see just under here where there's this portion of housing, that's where there's a weather protected area with the children's playground. This is an initial sketch that shows a potential siting for the outdoor event center. I shared again a couple weeks ago, there are a couple key drivers here. We're trying to be most efficient as possible in the property acquisition to minimize those costs. We're also leveraging the knowledge of our skilled construction team to move as little dirt as possible. So this siting location takes advantage of the grade change from Broadway down to where we anticipate field level will be, and compresses the site as significantly as possible to support that efficient property acquisition. This is all part of a plan you have and aspirations to create a event and festival area, proximity to Angel of the Winds Arena, additional shopping, and arts and culture venues, as well as the arrival of Sound Transit projected in 2041. And I think I've shared we've had excellent conversations with Sound Transit as well, and they're enthusiastic about this as the potential location for the facility. Many similar community benefits as we saw in Knoxville: year-round flexible event space, premium cost-effective outdoor gathering space, potential to revitalize your historic downtown, enhance business and workforce retention, provide those playgrounds and walking paths for the public. And we now know that it's not just a hope that we can catalyze housing development. We've actually seen it demonstrated successfully in several other cities across the country, and hopefully attract a younger demographic and new businesses. We can create a city park in downtown. The school district facility is freed up for youth sports. We talked about that quite a bit last year. The challenge around scheduling and competition between those various activities. The school district been a great partner with the Aqua Sox for many years, but of course, appropriately, their priority is youth sports. Complementary schedules of activities between Angel of the Winds and what would be proposed in the new outdoor event facility builds on Hewitt Avenue entertainment options, improves pedestrian connections, and takes full advantage of existing and future planned public transit. Getting to game ready is what we're about right now. That's the decision before you tonight. Maximizing city revenue, providing that new downtown park, meeting the MLB and USL requirements, retaining the Aqua Sox in the city of Everett, provide parking to support operations, inspire adjacent housing development, and anchor Everett as the regional event destination. Of course, there are challenges. We've been talking about these all along the way as well. Acquiring property. That is not going to be an easy path. We are making great progress, and the actions you take tonight will help that tremendously. We are committed to relocating businesses. You heard me say 2 weeks ago that in a prior role at the Pike Place Market, we went through a major renovation. We tore apart every single brick and put it back. We didn't lose one business. As long as I'm part of the project, that's a personal commitment. I mean that very deeply, and I know from practice experience and a career in public venues the importance of small businesses and the fabric and diversity they contribute to the fabric of the community. We need to advance design and costing to 60%. This will give our key partners greater clarity on the revenue generating potential of the facility and will allow us to advance negotiations to a formal lease. We want to attract additional private partners, and I'll talk about how that's possible here in a moment. We want to finalize those lease negotiations. We want to continue to manage cost risks, including tariffs. We want to secure our full funding. For a game-ready facility, doing excellent work with our progressive design build team, we have a path to a total project cost of $82 million. That includes $42 million in hard cost. Now, that's not without some compromise. And so I want to highlight just two for you tonight that I think are important. In that $42 million, we will achieve 3,500 seats, but it's likely that 1,500 of those 3,500 seats would be temporary bleachers. And we've seen great examples of that across the country. There was an example we actually visited in Knoxville at the University of Tennessee that showed a stellar example of high quality aluminum temporary bleachers that we could use in that instance. We've had very explicit and clear conversations with our key partners. They understand that at a $42 million hard cost construction, that's the initial game ready facility that we are delivering. We've also been leveraging the progressive design build process to minimize the amount of dirt. That saves us hundreds of thousands of dollars in construction if we're being smart about using the existing grade and elevation from Broadway down to the field level. So those are just two examples of how we've been able to leverage that progressive design build process to validate a path to the most cost-effective game-ready facility we can deliver. Includes about $20 million in soft costs and a placeholder at $20 million for property acquisition. We've reviewed these funding sources with you several times. This is fairly consistent with the recommendation brought forward by the Fiscal Advisory Committee last fall. There's been some fluctuation within your individual capital improvement budgets. Heidi, your finance director, is here tonight if you have detailed questions about that. Heidi, will not try to do that on your behalf, but we're seeking tonight is funding in the amount of $4.8 million to advance design, property acquisition, preparation of negotiation of a labor agreement, as well as consulting services. I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, and since that time, we issued an RFP and received stellar responses for a nonprofit third-party facilitator to explore a true public-private partnership to deliver this project. And we're pleased to bring forward a recommendation to you tonight to select Public Facilities Group, PFG. They've been doing what's known as 6320 financing, although this will be slightly different because these will not be tax exempt bonds. They would be taxable bonds. But they've been doing this sort of project delivery for about 30 years for public entities, University of Washington, King County, City of Redmond. And it allows these public entities to enter into a public-private partnership where that private partner delivers the facility for you, takes 100% of the risk for the funding, actually issues the debt, takes 100% of the risk for delivery of the facility itself. And when it's completed, you would be in a position to lease that facility back. So it gives you great flexibility. If we're successful in advancing this, it significantly reduces the upfront cost burden the city of Everett would put forward to deliver this facility, and also allows for some more creative public and private partnering. So we're excited about this option and seeking your approval to move forward with further exploration tonight. Again, and I apologize for the numeration here. It doesn't seem to have formatted in quite the right way. It does. Oh, it does match it. Okay, so it's just confusing me. Thank you, Mayor. You have 3 ordinances and 5 action items. We're here, of course, to answer any questions that you have as you take into consideration these decisions tonight.
Thank you. And at this point, we'll just take public comment and then we'll go for council questions. And so Angie, if you could call up those who want to speak on this particular issue.
Okay, so Dan, if you could come to the podium, followed by Grant. And please state your full name and city residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
All right, Dan Wickersham, Arlington, Washington. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and the community behind me. I'm speaking tonight to express my strong support for the Everett Outdoor Event Center and urge you to vote in favor of this important project. Again, my name is Dan Wickersham, and I serve as the president of the Everett Jets FC. I speak on behalf of the Jets Board of Directors and our organization, which is proud to represent Everett as the premier adult semi-professional soccer club in the region. The Everett Jets compete in the United Premier Soccer League, UPSL, a league governed by FIFA, U.S. Soccer Federation, and CONCACAF. We play in both the state and national levels, providing a competitive platform as aspiring players. The UPSL is the largest pro development league in the U.S. soccer pyramid at the 4th tier alongside USL League 2. It serves as a crucial bridge between youth soccer and professional opportunities, offering players exposure to collegiate and professional pathways. Additionally, UPSL clubs are eligible to compete in the prestigious U.S. Open Cup through our affiliation with the USSF. The Everett Jets are deeply committed to our community, striving to provide high-level soccer competition development opportunities. We operate as a no-pay-to-play organization, ensuring that talented players, especially those facing financial burdens, have the chance to compete at an elite level. Our support for the Everett Outdoor Event Center stems from the ongoing challenges we have also facing in securing a dedicated home field. Over the past 5 seasons, we have struggled with field availability, particularly those that meet the league's minimum standards. The limited number of suitable fields in the area have forced us to rely on school district facilities, where we are often placed on a low priority list for reservations. As a result, we frequently move between venues, which negatively impacts our players, our fans, and the overall growth of the sport in Everett. Beyond benefiting local teams, the event center would position Everett as a host for national level soccer competitions. UPSL playoff games bring teams from across the country, generating significant revenue for local businesses and hotels. Additionally, the league alternates the location of its Final Four matches between the East and West Coast each year, creating further opportunities for Everett to attract visitors and economic activity. Soccer and baseball are 2 of the most popular sports in the greater Seattle area, and a shared stadium would provide outstanding entertainment for Everett residents. With USL League 1 exploring a partnership with Dr. Sox, we would welcome the opportunity to contribute to this project, whether at the UPSL level or as Everett's future USL League 1 team. We urge you to vote yes on the Everett Outdoor Multipurpose Event Center. This project will not only enhance our city's sports infrastructure, but also strengthen Everett's reputation as a hub for high-level athletic competition. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Grant. If you could come to the podium, followed by Jeremy. Please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Grant Harrington, Everett, Washington. Mayor Franklin, Everett City Council.
I first want to say that I sincerely do not want to see the Aqua Sox leave. However, it is the Aqua Sox and Major League Baseball who are forcing this issue and not the city of Everett or its residents. It is my experience that it is in those times in which we live in fear that we make irrational decisions. And my belief is that the decisions being made are being made in haste and in fear and not based on legitimate financial projections. The stadium project would become an economic black hole and will take away from many other projects which would enhance the quality of life for actual residents of Everett. Everett is a city of over 100,000 with over 21 different neighborhoods. The downtown stadium project will suck up resources and money which should be allocated to projects that benefit a wider array of neighborhoods and residents and on projects you and I would actually utilize on a daily basis. Let's be clear. The city of Everett is asking for money from the residents of Everett, and I do not believe it has done enough to warrant approval. One, it has not been transparent in the projects which either will not be completed or are behind in the planning process because of the stadium project. Examples are the Forest Park Pool, the Snohomish River Trail, the pedestrian bridge between Everett Community College and WSU, and a multi-sport youth sports complex and the Wall Street improvements. Two, the city has not been transparent about where the funding is coming from and has not provided a sufficient forecast of budgets. Both Scott Pattison and Dan Ernestine have both admitted that the city plans to use $4 to $5 million of the Everett Parks Department budget or parks funding towards this project. 1.3 million of the money in which is being asked for tonight is also coming from the Parks Department budget. These funds need to be used for what they are earmarked for. They are justifying this by attaching a dog park to the stadium. The city of Everett has fallen well behind the Snohomish County in the efforts to connect the city of Everett with the Centennial Trail via the Snohomish River Trail because of the time and resources they are being allocated to the stadium. No detailed profit and loss forecasting has been provided on a profit for the next 10 years. If I walked into a bank and asked to borrow money with the lack of financial projections being provided, they would laugh me out of the bank. The city has not been clear with its residents in explaining what will happen if the stadium is not able to meet the obligations of the revenue bonds it intends on selling. In the end, the city of Everett is asking for 4.8 million, which I feel is significantly premature and has not done enough in their application of funding to warrant approval. It is my belief this immediate funding should be utilized on projects we know for a fact can be fully funded, provide a greater benefit to the entirety of the city of Everett, and will create union jobs sooner than later at a lower risk than the downtown stadium. The current highest and best use of city resources should be allocated towards infrastructure or capital improvements, which will equally improve the quality of life of all neighborhoods within the city of Everett, not just one square block. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. If you could please come to the podium, followed by Jasper. And please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Jeremy Reed. I live in Stanwood, Washington. My business is here in Everett. My business is located on Hewitt Avenue, which would be now the construction payload of these gentlemen's plan. I'd also like to thank them for not allowing us notice when your environmental work was going on, putting a drill right outside my window and disrupting my entire 3 days. Excellent planning. So with that, I want to start off with your Knoxville, Tennessee, and some fallacies of your revenue projections. Knoxville, Tennessee has a population of 198,000 people, a significantly larger tax base than Everett, which is roughly 111,000 to 115,000, depending on where you go. You cannot compare that tax base for the revenue projections. Two, when we talk about Ben and he talks about, I didn't lose a business in Pike Place Market. There's a list of businesses that have closed since that improvement. Starbucks being one of them. It's easy to Google. You can't park down there. It's too expensive because the city had to raise the parking to pay for that project. They have never brought in a project on budget, folks. The economics are bad. The USL team that you're promoting, saying this is going to boost our city and help pay for this. 13 USL teams have failed. 13. There's no funding for that. You're going to pay for this budget by mortgaging the Angels of the Winds and the bonds. You need that to upgrade. That arena is due for upgrades. It's 20 years old. By the way, the absurdity of their budget, $71.2 million. That was the cost in 2002 to construct the Angels of the Winds Casino. You're now going to acquire land for 8% more? And it defies logic. Also, going back to Tennessee, please keep in mind, the ownership of that team donated land. He's not donating land. He's making the citizens of Everett pay for it. He's going to fly back to the Bay Area, happy as a clam, knowing his risk is on the backs of the citizens. Libraries, community pools, which we don't have one. It's been closed since COVID. Forest Park's not open. It's important. I have a special needs son. He's 12 years old and nonverbal and autistic. Pool and water is critical for his life. You are taking that away. I moved from Everett because my daughter, I paid for private school, a World of Discovery, worked 2 jobs to pay for that. I've been here since 1999. When she went to Everett Public School in Garfield, she was too far ahead. She's going to sit in the back of the class. I chose to move to a place that had better services. Your services are behind the communities around you. You're losing home buyers and tax base because they're going to better places with better services. This is a bad plan. Bullied by bad economics. You don't have a good P&L. You don't have a good solid projections. Your teams are not there. My hometown of Modesto. I haven't lived there for quite a while. I left for the Navy at 17. They just lost their team from the Modesto Nuts. Moving. Boise lost. It is real. We don't want the Aqua Sox to lose. You're going to lose 16 tax parcels in the part of this. That goes directly to school district, an underfunded school district. You lose that, guess what? Their stadium doesn't pay property taxes. Where do property taxes go to fund?
Could you finish
School
up,
district.
please?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Branch.
Jasper. Followed by Reese. And please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Jasper Mossbacker, Everett. Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Jasper. I'm representing an owner of the Bayside at 3001 Broadway, one of the locations being voted on this evening. With this being voted on this evening, authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement related to acquisition of the land and real property rights, I hope I can connect the people and the faces to this business and property. The ones that have spoken tonight, the ones behind me, employees, family, friends. I know a number of you have visited and experienced the Bayside community. We have cultivated here in Everett and beyond, and we are looking forward to the communications and resources to come to light to make that happen. Transparency, easy access, clear direction is what we are looking for small businesses. Communication, your faces, coming to us, seeing our faces. I've seen your faces. I've had conversations with you. And that kind of stopped over the last year and a half. And with this being voted on this evening, I would like to see that improving. I would like to see community outreach to that. I would like more information. Daily, people are coming in and asking me, what's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to your employees? I have no answer. I have no time frame. I want to do fundraising. I want to give everybody peace and security that their safe space has a plan. And I can do that if I have the resources and the information to do that. Being on the floor in a restaurant, being a public figure, being out there and having the insecurity of not being competent is devastating every day being out there. And this has been 2 years. So I ask tonight, with this being voted, going forward, if that's the case, make it important for those affected as well. And I just really want to see the transparency. And again, I appreciate Jillian for coming in this evening as well, employees. And I really hope more faces and voices are going to be there for the help and the step forwards. Our safe space for Everett Pride, to musicians, to comfort food, vegan fare, only, restaurant like that in Snohomish County right now. It needs to be okay. For families and friends. We had a family come in and their kids had allergies to dairy and eggs, EpiPen. And those parents cried when they came into our restaurant because it was the first restaurant they were able to sit down as a family and eat. No cross-contamination. They were safe. Those are the things we are also bringing to this community. Don't disregard that, please. Ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Reese, if you could please come to the podium, followed by Kieran?
Hi, my name is Reese Stenhouse. I live in the city of Everett. Good evening, council members, mayor and council members. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Reese and I'm an Aqua Sox fan. I'm 13, but I've been going to Aqua Sox games for the last decade. I can tell you that all the Aqua Sox catchers out of them all, Prayudi Batista has the best throw to second base. I can tell you that the right fielder, Lazaro Montez, can throw the ball from deep right field to home plate without a cutoff man. I can tell you that Michael Arroyo gets hit by more pitches than anyone else on the team. To say I'm a fan is an understatement. However, my goal is not to convince you of that. My goal is to raise awareness for the possibilities that come with building a new stadium. I know it is expensive to build a new stadium, absolutely. But with funding from bonds and capital improvement funds, this money is designated for such projects, so it's not going to take away from other things. Well, all of us wish we had more park rangers on duty or the library's hours were back to normal. This project's funding is in no way related to these setbacks. The bonds and capital improvement funds do not impact personnel shortages. It is easy to be critical of everything around us. We criticize the idea of a new stadium, but at the same time, we also criticize the condition that our downtown is in and how it needs to be revitalized. We can't eat cake and have it too. When we read that the new Dick's Drive-In location was going to be on Airport 99, people scoffed at the idea of saying how terrible that location was going to be because of all the crime. Now we're only less than 16 hours away from that opening, and it's the talk of the town. If Dick's can take one of the roughest spots in Everett and improve it, why are we convinced that the city won't be able to do the same with a new stadium? It is easy for those who critique you when you're sitting on the bench. So building a new stadium is the first stepping stone to rejuvenating our downtown. So vote yes to a new stadium. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kieran, please come to the podium, followed by Jimmy. And state your full name and city residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hi there. My name's Kieran. I'm from Arlington, and I am the Everett CC men's soccer coach. I took over the program 4 years ago, and since then have won 2 trophies for this city, and started the process of getting our name out across the world scene for soccer. We've been in the top 25 the last 3 years, so we're super proud of that. I'm coming here tonight to express my support of the USL expansion in Everett. As a soccer coach, I want to stay in my lane of soccer and community building rather than the financial pieces, because that's your job. I know firsthand the talent that this area has to offer, with 75% of my roster being from Snohomish County. I know that we have the pool of players to compete on a national stage. With numerous Snohomish County players currently playing in pro ranks, I believe that we wouldn't just be able to produce a solid team, but a national contending team of locals. With the likes of Nathan Awney from Arlington, who's playing pro soccer for the Richmond Kickers, to Cameron Miller and Jalen Chrysler, who I know personally from this Everett area, who play for the Spokane Velocity, another pro USL team. We also have Becca Muteritz from Snohomish, who plays for Sporting Kansas City too. That's only to name a few of the current players. There's a lot more on the way. I know that this could be a homegrown team, which I think could be special, which brings in money, which brings in support, which brings in more business for people around here. Beyond the current players who are competing at the highest level, I also know that this impact will have all the younger generations of boys and girls on standby. By placing a team in the area, you officially set a goal for each child who loves the sport. You can drive from Stanwood down to Linwood any evening of the week and see an infinite amount of teams playing. Beyond that, you see collections of people groups playing for the fun of it. This is the world's game, and it's a way that we can all unify together. Yes, there are many popular sports, but none compare to soccer and how it unites people. You don't have to speak the same language, look the same, or agree on anything other than your love for the sport. There are dozens of youth soccer clubs in this area, and Everett specifically, who offer programs starting as young as 3 to as old as 18. I know that by offering a pro team to work towards, you're only going to see youth teams form more youth teams form as the sport continues to catch fire. I have countless stories of players who have come to me at Everett CC who are falling between the cracks of our society, not able to get their foot in the door in any professional, academic, or sports-related settings. At Everett, we've been able to give the opportunity to these young people to get their education and compete at the highest level of 2-year soccer. A USL expansion bid is very similar. I'm well aware that not every kid is going to get picked up by a pro soccer team, but I do know that when you set dreams and goals, people have something to chase after. And the more kids that dream, the more kids are staying out of trouble and doing things that will positively impact society. So in conclusion, I wholeheartedly support Everett's desire to expand the USL in this part of the country. We not only have the current players, but we have kids that could dare to dream for the future. I've been part of soccer-related school assemblies in the Everett School District for many years, soccer outreaches on Casino Road, and numerous other events that involve this sport in this great city. And I can tell you with absolute certainty, this team would change the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Jimmy, if you could come to the podium, if you're still here. Okay, that concludes our public comments for this item.
Was there anyone that didn't have a sheet that wanted to speak? Okay. Okay, thank you. So at this point time, we'll ask if council members have questions based on the presentation. Okay. Council members Arlingo.
Well, I'm mindful of the fact that a lot of this was initiated by Major League Baseball's expansion of the season here in Everett, but also their evolving requirements or increasing requirements for the team. And I'm thinking about the stadium we're considering building and then the commitments for the next decades in terms of the leases and that sort of thing. And maybe this is a question for Mr. Volpe, but where do we sit in terms of vulnerability to changes in requirements or the commitments the teams are making for the long term?
Very good question. Obviously, this is brought about by Major League Baseball. If you think about when all of these new standards were introduced in early 2021, it was a very different world with us having every team in minor league baseball, not having it a whole year of revenue, of having severely restricted attendance. And so the focus of everyone wasn't, let's address facility standards right away. It was, let's make sure we have a business and we kept everyone employed and let's keep it that way. So if you think about when people, us included, really started looking at this, it was 2022, 2023. Major League Baseball, yes, they introduced the new standards. They have been helpful in many ways. And over the last 3-ish years, plus or minus, there's been over $2.5 billion of public and private money committed to minor league baseball facilities, multi-purpose facilities across the country. Major League Baseball has done a lot of work to do that, has fought very hard, worked with national politicians, local politicians, making sure it works in public-private partnerships. That's 3 years that they don't want to do again. So they are very incentivized to not have that happen again. They're in a spot where they set these standards, regulations is very forward-looking, i.e. for very large female facilities, for very large clubhouses, for very large training facilities, recovery facilities that would be able to stand the test of time, and that going back every 5, 10 years, even 15 years doesn't serve anyone well. So they really set this as a long-term vision, which is why it was such a jarring change, because it was so different than what we had before. But it's really a long-term vision of what they see of this isn't the next 5 or 10 years. This is a real long-term strategic plan that they have. So,
okay. Thank you.
I have a couple questions. How long, Scott, how long have we had this information on a website? Don't we have minutes of every financial advisory committee meeting and everything that you have is on there? Is that correct?
Correct. All the information that even I inherited when I started in August of 2023 has been put on the webpage. So yeah, all the work the FAC completed is on the webpage. All of our community attributes, which was the economic impact statement that was put together, is on the website. Yeah, all the work that we've done to date is on this website.
And there's a few hundred pages of information on everything we've done, correct?
Easily.
Yeah.
I think the SEPA EIS reports 400 or 500 pages, right?
Yeah, oh, good, thank you. And I appreciate the transparency on that. I do want to just say it like it is, and I haven't seen a process so transparent. Another thing you could address, when the Financial Advisory Committee came out, I was just there as an observer. Their recommendation was what, between 90 and 120 or 130 million? That was like the range, or could you specify on that a bit? Because I want to address the idea that somehow I hear 140, I hear 200 million, I have all these numbers out there in social media, but that was really never our goal, was it?
No, that was never our goal. I mean, off the top of my head, as I recall, the Fiscal Advisory Committee made a recommendation at around $90 million.
Right. Okay, yeah, thank you. And then one more thing I had was, could you just address in generally, the revenue and how that, just generally how that's going to break down to pay down our debt?
Yeah, it's a lot more complicated than
Yeah,
just.
that's why I said the word
simplicity.
general, yeah.
Yeah, so, obviously we'll be in lease negotiations with the teams and what their lease rates will look like. Will be, as Ben alluded to earlier, depending on what stadium we can build, right? I mean, they're not going to pay X if we can't deliver the product. So we'll be doing lease negotiations with the team. So lease revenue, there'll be a ticket tax. I mean, we recognize that if we're going to build something, that those that are using it will pay part of the cost to build it. So there'll be a ticket tax. There'll be a share of concessions, naming rights. As you know today, when you go to a stadium, everything is branded. I mean, the restroom signs have Pepsi Cola on them. I mean, so everything's for sale in a new stadium. So the naming rights is a large source of revenue.
Yeah,
Those are just to name a few.
yeah,
But
thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Dugan.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I have a couple of questions here. So on this action item number 10 for 4.8 million, I assume that the 5 action items that follow add up or out, some of that money comes out of the 4.8 million.
that is correct.
Okay, so there's a balance of 1.3 million that's not listed anywhere. What's happening with that?
Stand corrected if I say this incorrectly, but that money will be used to exercise property options and start discussion with property owners for purchase of land.
Okay, I didn't find that anywhere. So anyway, just wanted to find out about that. I have a couple questions for Heidi, if she is still around. Okay, good. So in our first allocation, we had real estate acquisition fund 154. And I'm just curious, I know our street and alley vacation projects are in there, and I just wanted to make sure that they were still, the ones slated for 2025 were still going to happen.
Yes, so it's Fund 145, our real
Yeah.
property acquisition fund. There's 2 sub-funds in there. One is purely dedicated to street and alley vacated properties. That is not the source of funding for this project.
Great. And then my other question for you, Heidi, is Fund 148, the park impact fees. There's several programs in there with balances. Which one is this being used for? The 1.3 million?
This one is Program 29, and that is specifically used to receipt for park impact fees.
Right. Okay. Thank you on that. So I have some more questions on acquisitions. Do we think they're all going to be through eminent domain?
I don't know if I'm the best person to speak to this, but the reason that we want to move forward with the eminent domain ordinance is so that there are tax incentives for people to enter those purchase and sell agreements voluntarily. The hope would be that we do not actually have to go through a condemnation proceeding in court once you have got the eminent domain ordinance, and there are tax advantages both to the city and to the property owner to do it voluntarily.
Okay. And so the 20 million, I think before it was 18 was for acquisition, so the other 2 is relocation. Is that still the mark there on that?
Approximately, yeah, that's still an unknown.
And so we heard from several people tonight about relocation of businesses and concerns with that. What's our plan?
Well, our plan is to follow Ben's model that he's done successfully in multiple projects and relocate all of those businesses in Everett.
So item 14 is the agreement with Kimley Horn, and that would be the organization that helps with the relocation. Once all of these actions are approved, I absolutely heard Jasper and the others that only after these actions take place do we get to begin those conversations on relocation.
Okay. I have a couple questions on the price tag. So the cost estimates from what my report from the Stadium Fiscal Advisory Committee was 117 million. And so we're down to 82, which is 32%, which is great if it can happen. I am concerned about, well, first, my first question is, what is the contingency budget on the construction?
Right around 10% contingency.
And is that true of the soft costs too? The ones that that fluctuate?
That's a total project contingency.
Oh, the total. Okay. So, as we saw with Knoxville, they started out with a budget of 65 million, and in 2 years, they completed the project investing 114 million. So that was a 75% increase in cost of construction and materials. I have a hard time believing that we can deliver this for 42 million. So what's our plan for going over that?
Well, I can't speak to what they built in Knoxville or what they designed in Knoxville. Originally, were they building a 6,500 seat stadium? I don't know the answer to that. My assumption would be no, that the stadium grew. I'm making an assumption, and maybe Tate from the USL could address that. But when they added soccer, soccer has a different standard. And my guess would be that that project changed courses, and that's why there was such a large increase.
And just, I'm going to just add, I met with the mayor when we went to Knoxville and had a conversation, and very different than this project. We are starting with the knowledge of exactly what we're building to and setting the budget. That is not how they did that in Knoxville. They definitely started with just baseball in mind. And when soccer came along, they had to, that was long into the project. And so they had to make multiple changes, and it served them well. I think they're very pleased with the end result and the investment they made. They also had a lot more resources than we do to build to that standard. And I don't believe they used progressive design build either.
Yeah, may I?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Recall, we're using the progressive design build process, and that happens in 2 stages. Tonight, we'll select the progressive design build partner. And when we get to about 60% of the design, then we enter the next and larger phase of the project, which has a guaranteed maximum price. So it's not, the other delivery methods, sometimes you get change orders, the price can go up and up and up, but we get a guaranteed maximum price at the stage 2 of the design build process.
Okay. Well, I have a hard time comparing the 2 different stadiums. I would really like to see a comparable stadium around $40 million that's been built. What does that look like? Because I think that's a little more realistic when our folks are looking at that beautiful site in Knoxville, and we're not going to come close to that with the budget that I see that we have. Then I have a couple questions on funding sources. I know that the state has awarded us, 7.4 million. But it was stated to be for fund renovations. Have we been able to work with them so that they will apply it towards new construction? Okay, great. And then the other funding through the county and the Aquasox and the USL, do we have those confirmations in writing, and do we know when they're going to deliver their contribution?
Yeah, we have commitments from the team to a range of upfront capital contributions. And those will be dependent on what that game-ready facility looks like and the total number of revenue-generating components. So number of concessions, number of suites, places for them, as Scott shared, for naming opportunities and advertising. And we really need to get to that 60% threshold in design before they would commit to that in the form of a lease. And that is our goal.
Okay, so the numbers that we have are best guesses then? The 10 million for each of those?
They're not guesses. They're within the range that, you know, we've confirmed their consideration, again, dependent on what the final program is for the building. And we won't know that until we get to that 60% design threshold.
Okay. And then my question on the public facilities group, if approved, do they do the revenue projections and all that for the bond financing?
Yes, they would assume all of that work.
Okay. Okay. And I assume that from what you spoke of earlier, that you've done some revenue forecasting also.
Yes, we have.
And so is that something that we'll share with the council?
Absolutely.
Okay, because we haven't yet. So
Yeah, what we've shared is summaries of those revenue projections. And again, council member, they're preliminary based on a range, subject to final negotiations.
okay. And so do we also, have you guys started on a pro forma for the operations of the facility once it's completed?
Yes, we have. And as I mentioned, one of the key areas that the teams have confirmed their willingness to step forward is to assume a majority of the day-to-day operations and maintenance, whereas the city would have ongoing responsibility for major maintenance and capital improvements, but on a day-to-day and annual basis, would significantly reduce city's overhead. So it dramatically improves the overall pro forma, and then by way of that, increase the net revenue that will be available for debt service.
Okay, and so that pro forma, will you share that with the council?
Yes.
Okay. When? I've been waiting for that for a long time. No when? We don't know when?
Well, I mean, we can certainly schedule a time to go through that.
That'd be great. I appreciate that. Okay, and then on the revenue funded debt support, in the fine print, it said that it does not include costs for related debt issuance, interest payments, or debt service reserves. What, can you explain what that is and what we think that might be going to cost us?
You know, it's a good question. It's often dictated by the final size of any bond issuance, but it would be the costs related to issuance, the legal costs, accounting costs, actual closing costs for the bonds themselves. And then based on calculation of risk and revenue generated from the facility, you would establish what would be a reasonable reserve. So all that's subject to the sizing of the bond issuance.
Okay. And so, but that dollar amount, is that rolled into the bond or is that additional?
It would be part of it, yes.
Okay, good. Okay. Okay. I think that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Any other questions on the presentation? Councilmember Vogely.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for speaking. I remember touring the facilities, so I just wanted, that was a while ago and they were in great need of this refurbishment. So more than refurbishment. However, in some of the emails that we've received, people have asked about when the AquaSox get fined by MLB. And I'm wondering if that is a question, I'm going to ask it. I'm wondering if it's an answer that can be given. Have you been fined by Major League Baseball and how much? And are you going to get fined again if we don't, you know, that's part of this cost that I know that the AquaSox is your very own.
Yeah, very pertinent question. I think I've actually spoken to you all before. We have been fined. I can't disclose how much. We've been fined twice the last 2 years. If you think of a season as sort of the beginning of a season is the fine opportunity. So twice, we've dealt with that ourselves. We view it as the investment in this long-term project of, hey, it's going to be 3 or 4 years of some pain and incurring fines and costs, and the studies that we've funded, in addition to what the city's funded, we've funded a lot of these studies, and it's just a cost of doing business and an investment in what we view as the next 30, 40 years or more project. So we expect those, knock on wood, maybe not, but we expect those to be ongoing. But again, just viewing it as a unfortunate investment in
Yeah.
a long-term project to create a forever home. So,
And while you're still up here, when was your new stadium when was this supposed to be built?
it was supposed to be the first standards where you need to be was in April of 2023.
Okay.
The final one of when it's supposed to be good to go forever was 2 months ago in April of 2025.
Okay, so I'm just in a roundabout way saying thank you for your patience, and I know that it's been expensive.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to, that's it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
And then I wanted to, I see a total of 82 million, but then I keep hearing 40 million, so.
42 for construction.
Oh, okay, so there's the total 82, but the construction is 42. I was getting very confused, and if I was, then somebody else was also. And then preliminary maps, I wrote that down as a little thing. So, I'm just remembering the preliminary map and the EIS and all of that, where all of those, we didn't know which buildings were going to have to be purchased. And now we're more into knowing what buildings have to be purchased. Some of the buildings that we thought needed to be purchased are indeed gonna get to stay, according to this new preliminary map. And so I just wanted to reiterate that, yes, we care about the Bayside and the other buildings and businesses that need a visual. And I know that tonight with these votes, this is a very good starting off point. And so I'm glad that people were able to come and speak and be in support of that. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Bader was, I think, you want to wait till a motion? Okay, Councilmember Ryan.
Great, thank you. I think it's reasonable for business owners and property owners to have more of a reassurance of what the plan is moving forward. And I understand that, there's some first steps that need to be taken place by council to initiate that process. But I think that's absolutely reasonable for them to expect that through this whole process. So when a plan is ready to be shared, I think council would be grateful to hear what that plan is and just have an update so that we can have the reassurance that folks in the community have their reassurance.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go back a bit, but if you recall, for about 12 months, we were doing a SEPA EIS study where we were under strict cone of silence and we couldn't have communications with anybody with regards to the project. And then moving forward, we didn't have quite the site selected yet. And yes, we had the site selected, but we hadn't really identified where we thought the facility would sit. But as we get closer to that, which is where we are now, we fully anticipate with the work of Kimberly Horn to be reaching out. And yes, Dan Ernest, Director of Economic Development, and I will be knocking on doors and they'll see our faces once again.
Great. And to tie this to our committee meeting that we had earlier this evening where we were talking about vacancy and storefront vacancies, seems like this could be a good opportunity to pair those things up. The Downtown Everett Association has a vacancy map that they have mapped out different places downtown that could use a tenant. So that might be a good opportunity to pair those things together. With Heidi hiding around the corner, hiding. I was hoping, we have been hearing continued misinformation or misunderstanding of what types of fundings being used for what's before us today, and how that, where those funds come from, what types of uses those funds can be used for, and how that ties in or doesn't tie in to general operations of the city.
Sure.
If you could give a rundown, that'd be great.
Yeah, 1 second. The total is $4.8 million. $3 million of that amount is coming from CIP2. So that is the first quarter percent of real estate excise taxes. So that is restricted, can be used for the construction of, government facilities. Kind of as an example of what's currently being funded out of that is the Everett Municipal Building, as well as the Event Center. $500,000 is coming from CIP4. So that is really meant for new facilities or major renovations. So this project is a perfect fit for this fund. And lastly, we have Fund 148, which is for park impact fees. And this can only be used on new or expanded public facilities. So parks, open space, and recreational facilities.
Which of these funds do we use?
CIP1, which is not within the bucket of funds that were for our renovations and repairs to our own general government facilities.
Yeah, I was thinking more about, we hear a lot of public comment. I pulled a Ben. We hear a lot of public comment with frustrations about why we're not funding park rangers, but we are paying for a stadium. So if you could share about how those are two completely separate buckets and we can't use one bucket to fund another operation, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, so all of these funds are considered special revenues. They were either committed by council to be spent for a specific purpose. So I would liken that to CIP4. CIP2, which is funded by real estate excise taxes, and Fund 148, that's supported by park impact fees. Those are restricted revenue sources, and that's restricted by state law. So when we're thinking about the funding sources for this particular project, we looked at every fund and have also consulted legal to ensure that the use of these funds is allowed for this project.
Just to be very clear, none of this is funds that we would use to pay for staff at the city, such as park rangers. It's their capital funds.
Thank you. And I just wanted to make one last comment. Just appreciated the commitment that if we do move forward with selecting the public facilities group, that they would still use a PLA for the project. Thank you.
Councilmember Bader.
I will jump in there. Sorry.
All right. No, you're good.
Real quick. Yeah. Another misunderstanding we've heard about, and I think you've addressed this already, Scott, is in previous meetings is the idea that we could choose the Funko field option. And I think you've explained to us that what makes the new stadium pencil is the fact that USL will commit and we'll get revenue from that. But there's still a funding gap for the Funko option if we were to go there. Am I correct on that? And then might have one follow-up question to that.
Yes, you're correct on that. In addition, there are some of the parks funds, some of the funds that Heidi was just speaking of wouldn't be available to that project as well, because it would be school district property. But without the USL, which they can't play soccer at the school district site, the funding gap is it's greater it would be greater at the school district site than it is at the downtown site because of what they bring to the table, and not only upfront capital, but in lease revenue, and then the use of the facility as an additional 40 dates, guaranteed 40 dates with soccer events happening.
And I think we've known about this funding gap since the financial feasibility committee did its work. Since that work was completed, has anyone come to the city with a viable thought about how we could close that funding gap if we were to choose Funko?
No, nobody has come to us with any viable options on how we can make the school district site work. Nobody's come to us with not even viable with any options.
Okay. Councilmember Fossey.
So I have some questions, but I think it's regarding the number 14 professional services agreement with Kimberly Horn. Should I wait until are we going to go down that, or are we?
Let's, why don't we wait and see if we pass number 10?
Okay, so I'll wait for my questions on
Yeah.
that particular one.
We'll address those separately. Thank you.
In the presentation, there was something that said the progress in partnership negotiations on your slide, and it said a master concessionaire. What is that?
Basically, it would be the person or company that would handle all concessions at the facility. So you enter into a long-term agreement with a master concessionaire who would facilitate all the food prep, the beverage sales. And oftentimes when you negotiate those long-term deals, you can get them to help subsidize the facility with kitchen upgrades and operational expenses.
I really enjoyed being a part of the fiscal advisory committee and just seeing how much in depth and how many things were happening kind of all at once and being able to have all that information. And I was checking out the website and a lot of the things that we have posted on there with respect to a lot of the questions on transparency. So if anyone hasn't had a chance to actually go and review the website and click through all the links and look at all of those and watch all the things, like it's very, very informative. I highly recommend that people go there to get a lot of their questions answered. The concern that I have is obviously we've had a lot of conversations early on about soccer, and it's awesome to hear that is like making this like feasible. But in the fiscal advisory committee, the suggestions about how are we going to incorporate local businesses and how are we going to provide a pathway for these other things that we want, it sounds like you're already so far in some of these lease negotiations that the proposed resolution for council's wants and objectives, is that not going to be properly timed, since those seem like they're already worked out? So for instance, and I'm using this just as an example, since you're already making all those decisions when it comes to a master concessionaire and all the things that you're selling and where those revenues go, does that not leave like a space if we wanted to feature a local vendor or a local business or any of those other types of more flexible options that we can help support our local businesses here, because you're already making those decisions now?
No, we're not making those decisions now. We have barely cracked the ice on lease negotiations. What we've done is we've laid groundwork for lease negotiations. Everything you're asking for in local business and support for our Everett people, that's all still on the table.
Fantastic. I love hearing that. Looking forward to working on the resolution for council to come forward with a lot of those like ideas and support and things from the community. My last question, the nonprofit approach, there's precedent for that, correct? Other locations that you can.
Yes, it's actually been utilized extensively in the state of Washington. University of Washington has used it on a number of projects, as has the city of Redmond, city of Bothell, and King County. So there's quite a few examples over the last 30 years where it's been deployed successfully and to great benefit to the public entity.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just take over here, just a couple of quick things. So when we do the Knoxville model, isn't Snohomish County twice the population of Lexington County? It is.
Okay.
Yeah. So the culture here is much more pro soccer than Lexington County. And I've been there, I guarantee that. I think what's really important is the school district. And I think the school district is at the heart of our community. And over time, there's been a lot of protectiveness. And it's a coveted place for our community. And once again, for the record, could you talk about what the school district may or may not lose from it moving the site?
Yeah. Yeah. President Schwab, as your compassion for the Everett School District it resides in my heart too. I was, elementary school, Lowell, North Middle School, Everett High School, class of '88. So I am very compassionate for the Everett School District. With regards to the proposed or the assumed loss to the school district, there is very minimal. Chad has spoken in the past about what the trade-off for having the use of the school district site and what their actual financial gain is. And Chad, if I'm incorrect, you can shake your head no, but I think to the tune of maybe $200,000 net annually, give or take. Yeah. Okay. So, but the biggest challenge was the use and scheduling. And there were workarounds for all of that, but the perceived loss for the school district, we believe actually they'll gain from this. By, we've talked about having two stadiums within a mile of each other. We'll make a bid every year for the state tournament, for the state baseball tournament. We'll make a bid every year for the state softball tournament. The Everett School District site has a great soccer field. We can make a bid for soccer events, state tournament. We actually think that the net gain will be better for them than the loss that they're.
Yeah, thank you. And then between baseball, soccer, and the two soccer teams, how many events per year just with those three teams?
We'll open the doors with 106 scheduled events annually.
And that's generally the accepted break even on most stadiums.
Most stadiums, they say you want to get to 120 is a really good place to be, and then exponentially going up. In addition, I think it's important to point out that the Aqua Sox have asked for an additional 10 to 12 dates that they would use the facility, and that would be part of their lease. So that would put us at 115 to 120. The USL has asked for up to 80 dates where they would like to host other events. So now you're starting to push that 200 number where we're using the event center, 200 nights a year. And you're really doing well.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I think thank you guys, and thank you for all your comments, and thank you for being the gauntlet tonight there. Really appreciate it. Is there any other business that council like to do at this time?
Move to approve.
After a motion.
Move to approve Council Bill 2505-30.
Second.
Okay, motion and second's been made. Is there any more comment? Councilor Zerlingo.
Well, I'll certainly defer to those who were on the Stadium Fiscal Advisory Committee and all that's come in the past. I particularly appreciate the really extensive dozens and dozens of comments, questions, personal experience, organizational perspectives, personal perspectives, desires, and especially the questions, concerns, what ifs that we've had reflected. So I'll pass on those because others know more about some of the detail than I do. But one thing I think struck me as I was considering this here, and it refers a little bit to Scott Pattinson's comment about a net gain. A year ago, we were here considering measures to improve the city's budget situation. We heard from our voters in August that a property tax increase was not their choice. And we heard then, before then, and since then, that we should be looking at other ways to increase revenue, along with investments that would increase it long term. And it strikes me now that this proposal is taking action in that way. We are trying to expand the pie here. In particular, we're trying to do some things that move more business that's regional or bigger into Everett, that we're bringing in. We aren't just all cutting each other's hair. We're moving business and funds from outside this city and this county in some cases into Everett. So that's one of the more compelling aspects to me, is that we're trying to do an increase overall in revenue for the city, not just trying to work on the tax side. And then I'm also struck by the city's direct investment in this is actually a fairly small fraction of the total costs. I know that it's customary in other parts of the country for the cities to contribute a lot more, sometimes all of this. And I know to some degree the retaining of the Sonics years ago ran aground, because they were asking for the city pretty much to do everything for them. So we've got a fairly small contribution that I think it's being asked for here, and further measures are being made with this third party to constrain that risk, both near term and longer term. So those are the things for me, I guess, that are the factors that are suggesting this project in terms of its overall impact and the sensibility of it in the environment where a lot of our other funding is really constrained.
Councilmember Fossey.
Okay. Well, I have been very almost overwhelmed by the outpouring of emails and constituents, which I'm not surprised, in support of this project, the stadium, and the future that folks see that it's going to bring. Flashback to neighborhood days before I was even on council. My community was advocating for soccer. We had a cultural need for it, and no offense to baseball whatsoever. We had a baseball field or three already there in the community, but we didn't really have any sort of soccer or pickup areas for folks to play. And this was a fight like a long time ago that we were having, and it's still never gotten resolved. And hearing about all of the potential options for this generating even more ability to have fields and access for youth and all the growth that can come from that, it just really warms my heart. And one of the emails that had come in, I just want to read a little blurb of it because I think it really, really kind of encompasses a lot of the different correspondence that people have been sending in full advocacy of the project. Said the event center represents an exciting and much needed investment in our community. Not only would it serve as a vibrant hub for sports and music and cultural events and local gatherings, but it also holds the potential to significantly boost Everett's economy. By attracting regional and statewide events, center can drive tourism, create jobs, generate revenue for local businesses, restaurants, and hotels. This is a chance to invest in Everett's future and create something that will serve generations to come. And that really, with all of the past budget stuff that we've really had to look at and some of the difficult things that we haven't been able to invest in, investing in something in our future where we know that there is a future for a strong desire to keep our sports team. And with FIFA coming and all of the future directions also pointing to soccer and the rising tide around that and the economic investment really, really coming to fruition on that. I see this vision. And I also see me getting to eventually take my daughter to go see girls play sports. And that's just a really, really exciting thought for me too. So I still have some concerns when it comes to some of the displaced businesses and letting you know that we will be fully invested in the outcome of that and the planning for that, to making sure that we aren't going to lose those very valuable businesses. And so that will be work to come, but the confirmations about the PLAs and how you're trying to do this project right in the inclusion of the nonprofits and other players. I just wanted to give a little bit of why I am supporting this today.
Councilmember Bader.
Thanks, Council President. Real briefly, I mean, I think we're at the point here where we're faced with a stark choice. Either we move forward at this time, or I think the reality is we lose the Aqua Sox. I think Major League Baseball would see us not moving forward as that sign and probably tell the Aqua Sox to be looking for other facilities. I appreciate the intellectual honesty of those who've communicated with us that are okay if the Aqua Sox leave. That I think that's an intellectually honest position, but I don't agree with that. And I think they're an asset to the community. I think USL will be an asset. I would say 25 years ago, I would have been a skeptic of building the now Angel of the Winds Event Center. And I think my skepticism has been proved wrong. I think it's been a huge asset to the community. And I think this going forward with this will be an asset to our community as well. And I think keeping the AquaSox and adding USL is will benefit our community and our community's reputation as we seek other economic development opportunities as well. Thank you.
Councilmember Ryan? Any? Councilmember Tui?
Yeah, I want to thank staff and Ben and Chad for answering all my questions and being here. I've supported planning and community investment throughout my time on council. Planning must be responsible. Tonight, we're being asked to commit nearly $5 million toward the stadium project that for me still lacks full funding and transparency. By that, I mean, I've asked since December about financial performance and how that will look. I know the committee, the fiscal committee did start it, and I had a copy of that. Haven't had any update on it. So I have to be honest, this has been very frustrating for me to embrace. I do want the AquaSox and I do want soccer. I think they're both really important for our community to be in Everett. But as a council member, I want to know that it's realistic financial impacts to the city and our taxpayers. I want to know that this stadium is in the best interest of our city, not just a few. I think it's great that we renegotiated some management expenses and did some value engineering on the site to lower the costs. That's great. I wish we could have started out that way. I do question whether 42 million is going to give us that really diamond of a stadium. So I would like to see what that looks like, a comparable one. Because if we're going to do all this work, we really want it to be special. And I do question that. The event center had well over 10 years of not being able to cover its debts costs, and the city covered those. So we need to ask ourselves, are we comfortable with the potential general fund subsidy or increased taxes to pay for annual stadium overhead? You know, the event center had several professional and semi-pro teams come and go, along with the hockey team that's here, thank goodness. So that happens. So we do need to be prepared for that. And I have asked for the financial pro forma and revenue sharing, and just gotten some some broad brush strokes on that. So until I have that, I can't really support spending more of the city's finances. I'm not opposing the project. I want it to work, but it's about protecting the public's trust and resources. I want this project and the AquaSox as well as the soccer league to be successful, but we need to be fiduciarily responsible to our taxpayers. And I think now is the time. I wish we would have had more of that information sooner. And I'm just, I'm not comfortable that we're ready to roll on it until there is a complete financial plan. I cannot support moving forward on this particular ordinance tonight. Thank you.
Okay, and then for my comments, I mean, most everything's been covered. Since I've worked and lived in the city since 1990, I've heard this theory, and that is keep taxes low and we're going to generate commerce to pay for services. It hasn't worked well in the 30 years. We've been lucky, we've been fortunate to be in a county, in a region that's had economic growth above our national average. Being in this position for the last 4 years, I've had to deal with mandates from the state and other agencies that all they've done is cost us money. As a leader, I want to build. I am tired of just submitting to the regulations and the costs, all the mandates. This is an opportunity to build something in Everett. I'm like everyone in this room has a passion for this city. And last year we did put before, and it was aggressive, a property tax increase, even though it was way blown out of proportion, in my opinion, about what it really was. But we've spoken. The community does not want a levy lid lift to try to pay for services. So this is a vision that we can grow in the city and give it the center of attention that it's deserved and something that I've wanted for many years. A couple other thoughts that forward thinking, and we heard earlier today about the Downtown Association. The community is gathering around growth in this town, and it's an amazing to see. And whether it's the aerospace, whether it's Boeing, the high-tech industry, our downtown group is our port. This is an amazing place. It's no, as a council, we can't just sit down and just let it ride and we got to do something, not nest something, but we got to look forward. And this is forward thinking. One thing that hasn't been brought up is we have the Sound Transit station. 40% of those that go to an Aquasox game are south. Now they'll be able to, in 5 to 10 years, they're going to get on a light rail and come into our city and have something and go to the Aquasox game. I also want to make the point that there are always risks in these projects. And if you live enough on this planet, you realize you always read the headlines. Project gone bunk. City's broke, overtaxed. We've done everything imaginable to reduce the risk, not only to the teams, but to our staff, but most importantly, those that are 12, 14, 15, 18, 20, 25 that we want to live in the city. And we've done everything, whether it's challenging our future partners in the amount of money they contribute, the private-public partnership, and also including a labor component, which is really, really important. The design build is absolutely amazing opportunity. And I can't tell you the staff and give you guys enough attaboy, the staff to get that through. That was not easy. So I, like any person that's responsible for the taxpayers' dollars, the number one goal is to be forward thinking and to reduce our risk as we do it. So that's why I'm going to be supporting this. So thank you. All right. There's been a motion and a second. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader,
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
Councilmember Tui,
No.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, item number 10 is passed. We are going to take please be back at Hein in about 8 minutes. It's been a long meeting, so we'll take a quick 8-minute break. We good? All right, well, we're back from break. Thank you for your patience. All right, so we are on to item number 11, Council Bill 2505-31, third and final reading, adopt an ordinance approving the appropriations of the 2025 revised City of Everett budget and amending ordinance number 4087-25 for the Everett Outdoor Event Center project. Their motion.
Councilmember Bader, so moves.
Councilor Ryan seconds.
Motion and second been made. Any comments? Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader,
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
Councilmember Tui,
No.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, item number 12, Council Bill 2505-32, third and final reading, adopt an ordinance authorizing and providing acquisition, including through the exercise of eminent domain of land and real property rights for the purpose of constructing the Everett Outdoor Event Center project and authorizing the mayor to enter in agreements related to the acquisition of the land and real property rights. Their motion.
Councilmember Bader, so moves.
Seconded.
Motion and seconds been made. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader,
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
Councilmember Tui,
No.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item 13, authorize the mayor to execute in professional services agreements with Intelligent Partners, Inc. for the Outdoor Event Center project in the amount of $50,000. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and seconds made. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader,
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Number 14, authorize the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with Kimley Horn for Outdoor Event Center project in the amount of $200,000. Do I have a motion?
Councilmember Bader, so moves.
Councilor Ryan seconds.
Okay, motion seconds been made. Question, Councilmember Fosse.
Thank you, President Schwab. So in the agreement, it mentions on there, what it's abiding by, and it doesn't say the uniform relocation assistance specifically. It just says uniform act. Is that intentional?
They'll abide by the Uniform Relocation Act. Yeah.
Because it just says provided in the
assistance.
Uniform Act and WashDOT lag manual.
Yeah, we'll comply with all those state requirements.
The state requirements are for federally funded projects, so this is included in that.
Yes. I mean, is your question, Councilmember, whether we will comply with all the requirements, local and state, for relocation assistance for small businesses? The answer is yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you maybe go over a little bit more in detail of what that is that the businesses will be subject to under this?
Some of that is negotiated, and then there's set minimums for the amounts that you are required to commit to business relocation to make sure that they're whole, they have an opportunity to relocate their business.
So for a layperson who's reading through this, the only timeline that I see on there is a 90-day assurance notice. Can you give me a little bit more detail about what we're actually asking this relocation group?
Yeah, I would actually need to consult with Kimley Horn. They're the relocation expert. I've sort of shared with you the extent of my expertise in that area. I defer to Jennifer. She looks like she may be able to answer.
Well, I think you guys have answered it a little bit in the construction timeline, tonight's decision point, when businesses would truly need to be relocated based on when construction would be set to start. And that might provide, without the detail, that might provide more of an answer. What Councilmember?
Yeah, I see what you're asking. Yeah, I mean, it's not 90 days from today, if that's what you're asking.
I heard the concerns from business tonight, the instability and the insecurity that they feel. And in trying to address that and give them sort of an idea of what to expect, for instance, not all businesses are able to afford to just pick up and move.
This is the very beginning of that process.
Okay, and so what is going to be the process for Kimley Horn? Are they going to come back and present to council or give us the information on this is what the plan is?
Yes.
So that we will have input on, and what is the timeline for when they will come back to us?
Go ahead, Mayor. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just, I guess, talk through very briefly what it looked like. I didn't see Scott's speed. Talk through very briefly what one of these relocation looked like in a previous project that you did. I think understanding the timeline in the process, each individual business, as we saw with other relocation projects, is handled very differently depending on the needs of that business and their timeline. And some of them will move freely as soon as this passes.
So in the previous work that you've authorized with Kimley Horn, they did outreach and connected with all of the property owners. And that was for the purposes of generating appraisals. With this action, then, they are able to engage with not only the property owners, but each of the individual businesses, start a dialogue, understand what their relocation needs may be, what appropriate timelines would be required, and we have ample time to work through that process with those business owners. Again, it's not 90 days from now, it's actually when construction would start. And our anticipated construction start at the earliest would be Q1 of 26.
Okay. So that's a little bit more of timeline of what the businesses can anticipate that they at least have.
Yes.
I think that gives them a little bit of projected time. Are we seeking federal funding in this?
Not at this point, no. I mean, and generally, it's difficult to get specific funding for, because I thought the type of use, we did pursue a congressional, an earmark, congressionally directed spending, but weren't successful for the park elements and for the pedestrian infrastructure, but
We may pursue funding for that part of this project at a later date. They can't, federal dollars can't fund a new stadium. So our congressional delegation can't give us money to build a stadium, but they could build a park or sidewalks or things like that to help us around the area.
So we are operating under the guidelines of the Uniform Relocation Assistance Act regardless of whether there's federal funding.
yes.
That is correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Vogely.
Very
I
quick.
just want to emphasize primarily because you don't want to preclude yourself from securing federal funds for this project if that were to become available. So we want to make sure that every step we're taking allows us the flexibility to introduce those dollars should we be fortunate to secure them in the future.
It's just that a candidate's eligibility under that, it would have to be federally funded. And so I just wanted to ensure that we are still going to extend services under these guidelines, whether or not that is not going to be an eligibility criteria. And I got a yes. Okay.
Okay, Councilmember Vogely, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, did you have any more? Did you have another question? Okay, Councilmember Vogely.
I just wanted to say that there's some previous stuff where this particular federal act has come up. And so maybe later I could tell you what those dates were and you could see why we're asking these questions.
One more.
Okay, Councilmember Fossey.
Do you need to update the title of the Uniform Act on here to be its full title? Or is it known as a Uniform Act? Because I was not.
I think David or the clerk can confirm that we could add in the word relocation act, consider it, or word relocation where it exists in the end of the professional services.
Uniform
agreement.
Relocation Act. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. With no further questions, we are on item 14. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fossey.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
No.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, on to another item on the Outdoor Event Center. Item 15, authorize the mayor to sign amendment number 2, the professional services agreement with Shields Oblitz Johnson, Inc., related to the Outdoor Event Center in the amount of $300,000.
Councilmember Bader, so moves.
Seconded.
Okay, motion and seconds made. Any questions? Okay, clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, moving on to item number 16, select Bailey Construction LP as design builder for the Everett Outdoor Event Center. RFP 2024-114, award the design build contract for Bailey Construction LP and authorize the mayor to execute design build contract with Bailey Construction LP in the amount of $2,901,602 plus sales tax and in substantially the form provided. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second on $2,901,602.
Thank you. You're my man on that, plus sales tax. Yeah, okay. Motion and seconds been made. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
Councilmember Tui,
No.
President Schwab.
Yes, okay, item number 17, adopt a resolution selecting the Public Facilities Group as the 6320 facilitator issuer for the Everett Outdoor Event Center project. Do I have a motion?
Councilmember Bader, so moves.
Councilmember Ryan seconds.
Okay. Any no comments? Clerk, please take the roll on item 17.
Wait.
Oh, there's a comment.
There isn't really. Can you just tell us just one more time? I know that it's 9:12, but since this is new to us, 5 sentences.
Bringing on board this third-party nonprofit facilitator will allow the city to explore the full benefits of a public-private partnership where a private entity assumes all the risk for issuing the debt and all the risk for delivery of the project. At which time the project is complete, the city would then would lease back the facility, and those lease payments would be equivalent to the remaining debt service when the project is complete. So it's a significant way for a city to reduce upfront capital required to deliver the asset and significantly reduce risk and delivery of the project overall.
Thank you.
That was more than 5 sentences. I apologize.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Zarlingo.
One quick question, just to make sure we don't run into rocks in the road in the future. Whether or not Public Facilities Group uses IRX section 6320 or not, that's sort of the model for this here. Whether they use that or not, we're not compelling them to do that.
Correct. 6320 refers to the tax exempt bond issuance, and we know that this will be taxable bonds, but it will follow a very similar model.
Yeah, so the record should reflect that we're referring to 6320 as the type of thing.
Yeah,
Yes,
correct.
got it.
Thank you for that. All right, hearing none. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo,
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse,
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan,
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely,
Yes.
Councilmember Tui,
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes, okay, moving on to item number 18, for public hearing for the comprehensive plan and development regulations. We have 2 items. I'll read them. Item 18, Council Bill 2505-36, second and final reading, or second reading, adopt an ordinance adopting the Everett 2044 comprehensive plan. The third and final reading will be June 18th, 2025. Item number 19, Council Bill 2505-37, second reading, and ordinance adopting the Everett 2044 periodic update development regulations and amending chapters 3, 8, 13, 14, 16, 19, and 20. Third and final reading will be June 18th, 2025. And at this time, I will now open the public hearing. Angie, do we have any members from the public wishing to speak on this item?
Yes, we do. We'll start with those online. And I will ask Mary to unmute and turn your camera on if possible. And If you could state your full name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak when you're ready.
Mary Cunningham, City of Everett. I submitted an application, a proposal for amendments to the code to limit access from the street on alley lots. Providing access from alleys as development occurs would maintain much of the current character of the North Everett neighborhoods. Concentrating parking and refuse collection on alleys reduces conflicts between pedestrians and cars and makes sidewalks safer for pedestrians and for children to run and play. Eliminating driveways from the street also preserves on-street parking for the benefit of the community, including neighborhood residents and guests, as well as delivery vehicles. Eliminating driveways from the street also provides more opportunities for planting street trees and other vegetation in excess right-of-way and front yards. Front yards and excess rights-of-way will likely become the largest areas available in North Everett for tree plantings, as lot coverages are expected to increase over time with the development of additional housing. Staff's response partially meets my request by limiting access from the street when the proposed parking is not required. However, it would still allow access from the street when a property owner constructs improvements along the alley that blocks access from the alley. Then they come back later to build additional dwellings that require parking. I'm requesting that you please make additional amendments to not allow access to required parking from the street on alley lots when improvements are constructed on the lot by a current or past property owner that block parking off the alley. I'd also like to comment on the neighborhood commercial uses. I've read the latest memo by Alice-Ann Wetzel, and I concur with those potential changes. I do live on a lot that's next door to a corner, and so it has potential for commercial uses. I'd like to see some additional changes to the proposed changes listed in Alice-Ann Wetzel's memo. One is I'd like to see hours of operation limited from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. rather than 6 to 11 to provide neighbors more opportunities for quiet time to sleep. I'd also like to see clinics have smaller sizes or not be permitted at all. I think they're a very high parking demand use, and I think that they also typically serve areas much larger than local neighborhoods. They bring in people from all over the city and the county, and I would prefer that they not be permitted or that they be limited more in size. They're also likely to be request having on-street handicap parking for their use, which would limit parking availability to others.
Hi, Mary, your time, 3 minutes have come up. If you could wrap up.
Thank you for considering my comments.
Thank you. Just one moment.
Question?
Yeah. Councilmember Bobley.
Do we know if a public commenter has sent that specific information to council?
All right.
The answer is yes. Thank you.
I can reshare it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any more online, Angie?
Yes.
Okay, how many?
2 more.
Okay.
Sabrina, if you could please state your full name and city residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you, Sabrina Lehman, and I live in the city of Everett in the Boulevard Bluffs neighborhood. And I just want to take a second. Actually, the previous commenter pointed out, and I would like to also thank the council members who participated in redefining and narrowing the scope of the neighborhood commercial overlay. And her 2 comments I also support in terms of the time, moving that so that I think the close of business at 10 p.m. makes sense for the neighborhoods that the commercial overlay would apply to based on the interactive zoning map that was provided as of the May 30th date. Those neighborhoods would, that timing where the 10 p.m. close makes a lot of sense, as the previous commenter mentioned, as well as the clinics because of the parking. And I'd also like to specifically thank Councilmember Toohey and Councilmember Schwab for the hard work they did throughout Everett with this rezoning package. And lastly, thank you to Uric, because I know how many comments you got. And I've read through the public comment period, and you got back to everybody with poise and character and patience and kindness in a way that we need to celebrate as a community. Overall, that has been remarkable to watch in all of the meetings that I've gone to, both with the Planning Commission and with the City Council. There hasn't been a single one of you on the commission and or on the City Council who have acted out in frustration. And I want to acknowledge that for all of you. In particular, where there were direct comments made to you personally, you responded with kindness and generosity. And our city is well served by all of you, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have David. If you could please turn on your camera if possible. State your full name, city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. The state of Washington gave the following direction to cities for design standards. Use design standards to ensure housing fits the character of the neighborhood. I will point out some specific recommendations for design and neighborhood character. Vehicle access and parking off alleys where they exist should not be allowed, even for required parking. No curb cuts and parking in the traditional alley neighborhoods. Allowing curb cuts reduces neighborhood street parking and destroys neighborhood character. In the reduction of setbacks where there is excess right-of-way should be outlined with criteria and map before this goes forward. There is no knowledge on how this will affect Everett neighborhoods without more information for you to make a decision. Adopt the recommended floor area ratios provided by the state model ordinance provided to cities to implement middle housing. Floor area ratio standards keep the scale of buildings reasonable in neighborhoods and try to maintain the character of the neighborhoods. Christopher Alexander authored the book Patternland based on research. This study found that 6 feet is the minimum dimensions for balconies, decks, and porches for them to get used. They also found it necessary to have doors, entrances, and windows oriented toward the street. This is for safety reasons, community engagement, and connection to the outside world. The planning director by ordinance reports to the city council annually on zoning and development. Make sure this report includes examples of development under the new regulations, including pictures, so you get feedback on how the code works and how it may need improvements. On neighborhood business, when the Providence Hospital expanded, there was a commitment to the North Everett that clinics and the hospital wouldn't go west of Colby or expand more into the neighborhood. By allowing clinics in this area, the city is breaking that bond of commitment to the neighborhood related to clinics in that area. The hospital was expanded and into the Donovan district and also to the north onto the community college property. And the compromise was no more clinics in the neighborhood. I wanted to thank you very much for the opportunity to comment and to thank you for your votes last week related to the Madrona Avenue neighborhood residential constraint and park zoning for the Phil Johnson ball fields. And my name is Dave Koenig, Everett resident. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move to those in chambers. And so we'll start with Joe, followed by Tina. Please state your full name, city of residence. You have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Joe Newland.
Please lift the mic up a little bit. Thank you.
That better. My name is Joe Newland. I want to thank the City Council for their reevaluation of proposed zoning to change Legion Park Division 2 and Mount Baker View addition to neighborhood residential. Tonight, I wanted to address the proposed neighborhood commercial framework potential changes added to tonight's agenda. The draft regulation changes would allow small-scale neighborhood commercial uses in residential areas subject to specific development standards to ensure compatibility. The proposed eligibility map includes Legion Park Division 2 and Mount Baker Addition as an eligible location. The neighborhood of Legion Park Division and Mount Baker Addition, as discussed in previous comments, is uniquely constrained neighborhood, physically isolated by having only two ways to exit and enter the neighborhoods. A fairly small family neighborhood that is not large enough to support an establishment offering any type of commercial retail sales or services such as a grocery, a deli, specialty store, or retail service. There would be no customer base to sustain or support any type of commercial business. It would be a cycle of potential business believing it can make it, then closing because they cannot make a living wage to continue. Our neighborhood does not have any space for off-street parking or even on-street parking. Operation hours of 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. would not fit in our small family neighborhood. I can see commercial ventures in other areas that have been noted to be eligible locations. And in fact, a number of those neighborhoods already have commercial ventures that are thriving. I believe that Legion Park Division 2 and Mount Baker Addition needs to be removed as a proposed eligible location from the proposed neighborhood commercial framework. Thank you.
Thank you. Tina? Followed by Brian. Please state your full name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Hard for me not to cheer. Thank you, everybody, for great conversations tonight. Tina Velocity. My city of residence is Seattle, Washington, and I work for the Local Initiative Support Corporation. We have been doing a lot of work in Everett over the last few years with a focus on the Casino Road neighborhood in South Everett. I wanted to come to comment on the comprehensive plan update. And first of all, just thank the partnership that we have with the city and with the staff. We've worked really closely with the planning team over the last, 9 months probably. And had the privilege of working really closely with community-based organizations in South Everett to engage the community and get feedback from individual residents, business owners, community-based organization leadership to help shape a set of recommendations for the comprehensive plan update. We are really grateful that the staff has been able to incorporate in partnership with the Planning Commission most of those recommendations, and just really appreciate that work. We were quite disappointed last week to learn that there was an amendment to remove probably the most significant recommendation, which is the inclusionary zoning policies, which are really critical, as you heard testimony earlier today, to put in place policies that will help to reduce displacement of residents in the neighborhood, especially when we see significant new infrastructure investments like new light rail stations. So I am just urging you all in your consideration of the adoption of the comprehensive plan to maintain inclusionary zoning, and just want to thank the staff and all of you for your work on this planning. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian, followed by Lillian. Please state your full name and city of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Brian Partington, Everett resident. I'm here to speak on the proposed zoning reductions to the Norton Grand Historic Overlay. Over the past few years and months, I've followed the council and their deliberation over zoning. I want to thank them and the planning department for their transparency and outreach regarding this long developing plan. I've also seen over the past few months the council make various edits to the plan to address neighborhood concerns. Things like neighborhoods built on arsenic, communities of senior citizens and low-income housing fearing displacement. I've heard considered thought about neighborhood commercial, which I respect a lot. and a lot of adjustments, which I support, but I strongly object to the idea of reducing, the proposed zoning reductions next to the Norton Historic Overlay. This area has received significant public investment from the taxpayers of the city and region. It is getting a rebuilt school. It has a redeveloped park. It has the city's single high-frequency transit line. And the idea of preventing people from being able to live near these amenities, which have been funded by us all, is something that I strongly oppose. This area is also close to downtown Everett. It's close to the Providence Medical Center and the former Everett Clinic. It's surrounded by employment, and moving density elsewhere would force people to move to areas that are worse served by parks, worse served by schools, and worse served by employment. As for the historicity of this area, I do not believe it will be impacted by having larger buildings next to it. I am not an Everett native. I was not born here. I have lived in other places. One of the places I lived was Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And I found while living there that its historic neighborhoods were well served by having density next to them, because the many people living in those buildings could walk and bike and move around and enjoy the historic nature of those neighborhoods and form a stronger connection to their city by proximity, which is not something that will happen if we keep pushing people farther away from the edges of this overlay. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Lillian, followed by Brock. Please state your full name and city residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Lily Thompson. I live in the Northwest neighborhood of Everett, and I'm also a policy and advocacy intern with the Housing Consortium of Everett and Snohomish County. I'm here tonight to provide my support for the final draft of the Everett 2044 Periodic Update Development Regulations, which includes inclusionary zoning standards for the Casino Road neighborhood in South Everett. The consortium would like to express our gratitude for the work and effort city staff have made in producing the periodic update. They've listened to the community and have taken constituent feedback and concerns into account in the creation of this document and plan. Increased density throughout the city through progressive zoning considerations will allow the city to meet forecasted growth projection goals for all spectrums of the housing continuum, and we're grateful for these efforts. As you move towards approval of the periodic update, the inclusionary zoning program's inclusion in this plan is vital towards ensuring that protections are in place to allow current Casino Road residents to maintain permanency and connection to their neighborhood through housing stability. The inclusionary zoning plan has been shaped with widespread community feedback, and this tool provides protection for the community. It safeguards them against being priced out of our city with the impending infrastructure improvements brought by the Everett Light Rail line. 14 jurisdictions throughout Puget Sound have inclusionary zoning regulations in their respective comprehensive plans, including Linwood, Shoreline, and Seattle along the Everett Light Rail line. We're hopeful that Everett will become number 15 and that the council will indeed value the voices of that community, including those that have been historically marginalized, and approve the final periodic update with the inclusionary zoning program for the Casino Road neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Brock, followed by Daniel. Please state your full name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Yes, Brock Howell, Executive Director of the Snohomish County Transportation Coalition or SNOTRAC and Everett Station District Alliance, CSDA, resident of Everett. I am speaking on behalf of both organizations, so I hope I have 3 points to get through. I hope I get a little bit of indulgence here. First, to Casino Road. ESDA and SNOTRAC worked very closely with our partners in Casino Road, including on the inclusionary zoning policy. The neighborhood is in a unique position in this county as being one of the densest, lowest income, most diverse neighborhoods. And there is almost no subsidized affordable housing there, if any, that I'm aware of. So the market pressures are real. So in a time when our immigrant families are facing unprecedented times. I ask that you listen to their voices and concerns. I ask that you maintain Everett as a welcoming and inclusive community. I ask you to make the smart policy decision that gives this city time to implement anti-displacement strategies. I ask you to be a state leader on inclusionary zoning and show what other cities, how we can do it right. So that's topic one. Topic two, state law now limits parking mandates. This is a smart, rational policy that will help keep new housing affordable and address climate change. However, eliminating parking does not mean people will stop driving. This transition requires additional education and encouragement strategies to help people walk, bike, and take transit. Additionally, many new apartment buildings that are committing to transportation demand management strategies are not actually implementing those strategies. And that is why I ask that you amend the comp plan update to include a requirement that new development contract with what's called a transportation management organization to implement those strategies independently. So that's issue number two. Topic number three, core to the city's ability to get new development to invest in the adjacent transportation improvements is what's called level of service standards. State law now requires cities to modify their level of service to include all modes. And the city has attempted to do that, and that is great. There are some modifications I would like to see done to make sure that it fully complies with the spirit of the state law change. And that is to have a prioritization framework to make sure that when multiple modes are competing against one another, the city knows what to prioritize. You can go to the city's goals around climate change, economic development, social mobility, standards to help fix them, how you decide that. In addition, just real quickly, the last point, while biking, transit, walking are all now included, there are some key transportation policies that are not included that I would recommend in that level of service standard, which includes the ADA transition plan, making sure people with disabilities have better sidewalks and crosswalks. That way developers pay for that, as well as the city's new safe streets policy. So those are the two things to add. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel, please come to the podium, and followed by Jim. Please state your full name and city residence, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Daniel Dodson. I'm a resident of Everett. Mayor Franklin, council members, I'm here to address comprehensive plan. And I brought it. I'm not going to read it all to you. There are 61,004 words in it. Very well written. But I would like to address some things I think that are very important. First off, mid-rise and high-rise. I think the plan is creating more rentership than ownership. I don't see how the plan is going to create mid-rise residential ownership opportunities or high-rise ownership opportunities. I'd like to understand how the city is going to address that. 35,000 homes or whatever we're going to put in here. I don't see anything about ownership. That's a concern. Traffic. I have a big concern about traffic. The traffic map in the traffic plan, all the data for the freight traffic in this plan is from a 2009 study. And I don't think that it properly addresses the current industrial traffic that moves through the city. That study was to do some traffic studies around 41st Street, Pacific, Marine View Drive. We have a large industrial zone that's been incorporated into the city. Cadman moved out back in 2018. Prior to that, we had a light industrial zone in that area in Seavers Ducey. Now we have Amazon, we have FedEx, we have a lot of commercial traffic moving through our streets trying to access the freeway. They're not using commercial roadways to get to the freeway. They're using residential roads. Evergreen Way is a T1 traffic route, but so is Seaway Boulevard. And Seaway Boulevard doesn't have any bedrooms on it. It's a 5-lane road. 75th Street that accesses Seaway Boulevard doesn't pass by a bedroom. It passes on a 5-lane road, getting traffic out of the commercial zone, up the hill, and onto a freeway that goes to both north and south I-5. The plan does not address that. The plan does not address anything to do with moving traffic as we're going to grow the number of people in the city. It talks about safety. I read all over this plan about how traffic is safety. Service, the plan, service they were just talking about, that comes from a 2013 study, and it's outdated. We've grown quite a bit since that 2013 study. And so I'm wondering why all this old data is in this plan and it's not up to date. We're going to be putting an R4 zone around Beverly Boulevard, Evergreen Way. There are going to be 287 homes that are going to be impacted by those 4-story buildings, frontage on main roadways that have those frontage lots have houses in the backyards. There are going to be people, 287 homes that are going to have a 4-story building in their backyard. There's no proper buffer. How can you guys do this in this plan? Who puts this plan together and then hides it in 61,000 words, and nobody's really gone through it and done the math to understand how this is going to impact traffic safety? Why doesn't the city have designated traffic routes for freight trucks and advise them from the freeway, gantry signs to go down Freeway Boulevard and access those commercial zones from commercial routes? Why are they pushing them through bedrooms? My time is up, but my time's not done. I'm going to be here until we get this resolved. I want to ask, when does this plan get ratified? What's the date? When are you guys ratified? Is that the 18th? Have you gone back to the community? This was finished the 11th. Have you gone back to the community and shared your final plan with them so they understand there's going to be 4-story bedrooms in the backyard? There's no traffic safety.
Thank you.
I want to know, why haven't you gone back?
Thank you very much.
Jim, can you please come to the podium, followed by John? And please state your full name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Mayor Franklin, Everett Community Council. I'm James Michael Jackson, and it's past my bedtime, so this will be brief. On March 15th, 1974, my wife, Diane, and I embarked on an incredible adventure, purchasing a home with $1 million view. Nestled in Lowell, our home provided sweeping vistas of the Cascade Mountains, the Snohomish Valley, and picturesque sections of the Snohomish River. Life is a journey filled with unexpected twists and turns. For Diane and I, our journey took us from a dream home with a breathtaking view to more manageable residence in Fairway Estates, Everett, Washington. Fairway Estates is a mobile home park in South Everett. We fell in love with the community and decided to move in on September the 1st, 2022. The park provided us with the opportunity to own our home while enjoying a more manageable lifestyle. The transition was bittersweet, but we knew that it was the right decision for our well-being. Did I say I'm a Navy Vietnam veteran? There are a total of 26 of us veterans living in Fairway Estates. Despite the challenges we have faced, Fairway Estate remains our chosen haven. We continue to appreciate the simpler lifestyle it affords us and the warmth of the community. As we navigate the complexities of rent and maintenance, we hold on to the hope that a more equitable solution will be found, allowing us to enjoy our retirement years in peace and financial stability. As a Navy veteran, I have faced many challenges, but none as poignant as ensuring a secure and continued life for Diane and I. It is our hope that this council will help us keep Fairway Estates a 55+ mobile home park for many years to come. One last note. America's veterans are some of our nation's bravest, hardest working men and women. However, It's hard to show them the appreciation they deserve when back home and out of uniform, they are more camouflaged than ever. There are 26 United States veterans living in Fairway Estates and more camouflaged than ever. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, John. Followed by Russell. Please state your full name and city of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you all. My name is John Simon. I live in Everett. I work in a different city as a deputy fire marshal in fire prevention. I have some concerns about the proposed development in Everett. My concerns are life safety concerns. Although Fire Station 1 is right down the street on Rucker, I feel comforted by that. They have a great $1 million ladder truck that some of you may have been involved in the purchase of a few years back, and that's a good thing. I'll get back to that in a second. This afternoon, when I got home from work, I took a drive down the alley between 33rd and 32nd. And I found a car parked in the alley. It wasn't blocking the whole alley, but it was blocking enough of the alley so that $1 million ladder truck could not get down that alley if it needed to. I submit that if you build 7-story monoliths or taller, unless you provide parking for every single car for every single resident, those alleys are going to be full of cars. And that means if that ladder truck tries to get down the alley to go to a fire or a medical emergency, it's going to be stuck dead in the water. From what I've heard, Councilmember Ryan has a plan for a scaled down version. I understand that you need to house the people. I get that. But if you build giant structures in that tiny little area with that alley full of cars, I think it's asking for trouble. Thank you for your time. And just a side note, if I could pivot, I think you also got to help the people in the Casino Road area. They're going to be in a world of hurt. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Russell, and then followed by those who wish to speak that weren't able to fill out a form.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, staff. I'm Russell Joe, Master Builder's Office in Bellevue. I want to first thank the staff, the Planning Commission, and all the work that the council has done to work up to this point to get Everett 2044 almost across the finish line. Just want to say that Master Builders in General supports alternative 3, which you've selected, which allows density along the main thoroughfares and then contemplates middle housing throughout the city. We think that that's a plan that's well thought out and has the opportunity, at least, to plan for the housing, employment, population numbers that have been thrust upon you by the county. That being said, we do appreciate the work that staff has done with us, particularly on the ADU subject. There was a point in time where the way the statute was written, it would preclude building of ADUs because of some requirements that were triggered by some of the changes in the statute. Yorick and his staff were great in terms of working with us to amend that and make sure that it was very clear that ADUs can still move forward with the appropriate 50% impact fees and the reduced fees that are afforded to it. We do appreciate that work that was done. Last June 3rd, obviously the Planning Commission met and they are coming up with a recommendation to council. We would encourage the council to closely look at that recommendation and follow the recommendation of the Planning Commission. They did hours of testimony, almost probably parallel to the testimony that you heard. They talked among themselves, debated the issues, consulted with staff along the way, and came up with their recommendations to you. They are an advisory committee to you. They're not giving a recommendation that you have to follow, but we believe that it was soundly put together with good evidence and good rational thinking along the way.
I would just point out that all the amendments that were made at that June 3rd meeting were unanimous. The final recommendation from the Planning Commission was also unanimous. If you listen to the tape, they did discuss a number of the issues and thought them through very carefully. We'd ask that that recommendation be followed. We wish you luck in getting this passed June 18th, or at least before June 30th, when the mandatory deadlines for some of the requirements go into place. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. So would anybody like to speak that have not completed a form? You can go ahead. And please state your full name and city residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Jean Seti Hewitt, and I'm a resident of the Norton Grand Historic Overlay. First of all, I'd like to thank Councilmember Ryan for offering to assist our neighborhood in finding a solution for our neighbors concerning the heights along Rucker Avenue. I have a petition here as we sent to the city council members of 100 people who are going to be affected by the change in heights. They are UR7 heights along the overlay. The zone with the lowered heights will help mitigate the negative impact of high-rise development along the overlay in the alley behind 1 and 2 story historic homes. In addition to the impact of the heights, the traffic and activity these large-scale developments create will affect the value, character, livability, and integrity of historic homes in the overlay. Right now, we have a new development that's happening along the north side of our overlay. It's a 200+ apartment building with affordable housing, which we're going to be accommodating traffic and a lot of activity through the overlay. So we are really concerned that if we also have the 7 stories along Rucker, that it's really going to cause some very damaging effects to our homes in the overlay. So Councilmember Ryan is going to propose a reducing the heights a bit, a few stories. And one thing to remember is that it's just half floors of half a block. So we believe that the number of units that may be affected is pretty small compared to the entire city. And we hope you'll accommodate our request. And thank you very much for all your consideration.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Please go ahead. State your full name and city residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Madeline Shepherd. I live in Everett. First of all, I want to thank Jennifer and Yorick for their emails. I appreciate your time. If there's anything I can do to assist in researching for a historic overlay for Hoyt Avenue, please let me know. I excel at historical research and would be delighted to help. Hoyt Avenue covers a wide range of architectural styles, from grand 4 squares to more modest cottages. The 1800 block of Hoyt actually has more historic structures than does the equivalent block of Rucker, which has several mid-century homes. Yorick stated that UR4 zoning is considered low to moderate density. The existing houses here are already fairly dense. You wouldn't gain much by changing it. I request that the UR4 zone along 19th end at Colby and leave the 7 parcels on Hoyt north of 19th as neighborhood residential. This would allow time to research and expand a historic overlay, leaving UR4 zoning endanger 7 contributing historic structures. I urge you to please consider this, and thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Looks like that concludes our public comments.
At this time, do we have council comments? Oh, we have a presentation? Oh, good. I appreciate that.
Sorry. Thank you everyone for hanging on through this tonight. Just a quick one to cover some of the changes that we went through a week ago. As always, we start with where to find the documents, everettwa.gov/2044. There have been a few changes that staff have worked on from the May 30th final draft. There were 2 council amendments last week, and there are 2 potential council amendments today. There's also some work on the neighborhood commercial framework that has been done by a small group of council members. Sent the memo around that Alice-Ann wrote this morning. There have been some, some settling among the three council members that have worked on that and Alisanne connected with other council members to see what the intent would be for their districts, for what parcels would be eligible for neighborhood commercial. You can see those areas on the map. Note that there's a darker color for 3 streets, West Mukilteo Boulevard, West Casino Road, and South Second Avenue in Lowell. Those are areas that would have all of the parcels, not just corner lots, eligible for neighborhood commercial. Otherwise, it would be corner lots in the areas highlighted. A couple other changes that were suggested by the subcommittee, which would include prohibiting drive-through facilities in the neighborhood commercial framework, limiting hotel motels to 5 rooms, limiting daycare centers to 20 children. There has been a lot of conversation around off-street parking associated with neighborhood commercial uses. We connected with Public Works and they would be happy to address administratively time-limited parking, load unload zones and things like that to support neighborhood commercial. They did not identify a need to make changes to the legislation to do that, but would stand ready to manage on-street parking appropriately on all blocks. Mentioned no drive-through facilities, and then also building entrance and transparency. There would be a requirement that the primary street facade have a main entrance door and 60% of the building facade transparent windows, and the secondary street 25%. That would only be for new buildings. At a staff level, last couple of changes as we continue to test these regulations on potential developments, the minimum standards dimensions for porches seemed a little bit high in some cases. So proposing to reduce from a minimum of 8 feet deep to 6 feet deep. Heard public comment today mentioning the 6 feet as a minimum standard, and then the width from 15 feet wide to 8 feet wide, thinking particularly about townhouses that are sometimes as narrow as 16 feet or less. The industrial waterfront height area, we talked about this last week and learned something. Even a geography major, as I am, wasn't totally up to speed with NAVD 88 standard, that basically the ground level is 15 feet above ordinary high water mark, and that puts the water side of the port's property down to a 25-foot height limit where it is currently 55. So for the time being, proposing to ditch the slope and go back to the flat 55 feet that is in the current height map on the industrial waterfront height area, which is certain areas identified in chapter 1922. This has been part of the proposal all along, just forgot to have it in the May 30 final draft. This is consistent with state law around impact fee reductions for accessory dwelling units. So in our park impact fee, we would reduce 50% from what a principal dwelling would be. On the transportation side, Public Works report they will be able to do that administratively. And so the same 50% impact fee reduction will be included. Last week, the council moved to amend parcels accessed from Madrona, both sides from neighborhood residential to neighborhood residential constrained. There is a map of what parcels met that criteria, access from Madrona Avenue. And then mentioned this, what is called the Cemex transfer lots. These are parcels that were deeded to the city as part of the closure of the Cemex mine for park and recreation purposes. Council moved to amend the zoning map. Staff are following that up with the equivalent change to the comprehensive plan map to park and open space from industrial. And then you heard some public comment, and Councilmember Ryan mentioned at the last meeting that she would look into reducing the heights around the Donovan district adjacent to it. So here's a map of what I understand that potential proposal to be. And then we've got another slide for Norton Grand, but at press time for the slides, I wasn't sure exactly what number to slot in there. So we've just highlighted the areas in question. That's it.
Okay, council comments or questions? Okay, go ahead. Do we have to close David, do we have to close the meeting before we make motions? Public hearing, I mean, yeah, close the public hearing.
Yes.
Okay. So any comments or questions while the public hearing is open? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Move to close the public hearing.
Councilmember Ryan seconds.
Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, any other further comments there from council? Councilmember Ryan.
Thank you. I'll start with the Donovan district. This was it was an easy one for me, honestly. The previous zoning was UR 15 all along NR neighborhood residential. So that stair step wasn't already present in the plan. So I asked for the lots abutting the historic zone and the neighborhood residential facing Lombard to be reduced to UR 7, but the other segment that is along Broadway to be MU 7, just to help with that stair stepping and also to.
Is that a motion?
I would move that we adopt as it's proposed on the map here.
Okay, is there a second?
Councilmember Brady seconds.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, is any further comments or questions from council tonight? Councilmember Ryan.
Thank you. For Norton Grand, I haven't settled on anything yet. Looking at the full map of Evergreen from the very southern tip of the city all the way up until I believe 24th, it's UR 15 the entire way. And this segment was originally designated as UR 15. So to a reduction to UR 7 or MU 7, I think is a reasonable settling point, but I also want to respect the requests and the wishes of the neighbors. But to me, it would be literally the only segment along that whole stretch of a major transit corridor that would be bumped as low as MU4 or UR4. And I think for continuity's sake and for an equitable approach and a universalistic approach to zoning, having the zoning duplicate how we have for the Donovan district makes sense to me, but I also would like to work with the neighbors more to see if there is a separate compromise that they would be comfortable with, as I do understand that there are some real concerns there. So I'm not ready to move anything forward today. I'm not sure if that's a problem for staff.
We have, so next week is the vote and amendments can be proposed at that meeting. Staff will wrap up everything that I showed on the screen, including the amendment that was just made, and we will release one final draft this Friday for your packets for next Wednesday, and then any council amendments that you make on Wednesday can be part of the package as well.
Thank you. And for just the public's sake as well,
Oh, sorry.
It's my understanding, York, I would appreciate your clarification too, because it's also past my bedtime. For an MU7 or UR7, the side of the structure that is along the alleyway, the height along the alleyway can only be as tall as the neighboring neighborhood residential height, which would be 35 feet. And then there needs to be a setback on the building of a total of 50 feet from the other side of the alley. So if the alley's 20 feet, then there would need to be at 35 feet, an additional 30 feet setback in on the building itself. And then it could go up from there. So the monolith assumption wouldn't actually apply to a MU7 or a UR7. It would actually apply more to a MU or UR4 designation, because that would be higher along the alleyway.
Yeah, there is a height reduction in chapter 1922. Any neighborhood residential zone that is next to a 7-story or above zone for 50 feet horizontally around the neighborhood residential zone, it would be limited to that 35 feet, as you said. The UR4 does not have that same reduction. It's only 10 feet difference.
And then the total height of the building is, would it be measured? How would that be measured?
All heights will be measured from the base elevation, which is you take the smallest rectangle that can fit the building and then the average of the 4 midpoints of the sides of the rectangle. thought I was done with geometry for the day. So it's basically the average of where the building is where we measure that height from. So if it slopes up away from this, either way, it's where the
Mhm.
average base of the building.
Great. And we can talk through it more before Friday, but is there a possibility that that measurement could be made along Rucker?
I think so. Currently, we have it's split. Some zones and some uses measure from the sidewalk and some measure from that base elevation. It was confusing, which is why we considered consolidating around base elevation, but we could take a look and see what refinements could be made to that.
Okay, great. And I would be happy to hear from my colleagues on this as well. Thank you.
I had a question. Where's the status here on our commercial overlay in residential? I know we have some proposals. Is that something we need to amend at this time, or?
It is something that would need to be amended.
As-
That can be done next week if you want some time to think about it. I don't know if council members are Lingo or any of the other council members that worked on it have some words on it.
Yeah, Councilmember Zarlingo, do you want to?
Well, yeah, we have been working on it. I think we've got a workable proposal. We worked with Yorick and with Alisanne on this. We're not in perfect agreement, but I think we have a proposal that met most needs. I guess I do want to say in this that I'm not at all opposed to neighborhood commercial, that my thrust on this and the reason for the subcommittee was to see if we could focus on the things that were the most beneficial and where the impacts were best known and somewhat modest, with the recognition that there were a lot of wrinkles in this, more uses we'd like to allow, but things that at least several of us would like to understand better before we do that. So for myself, I am comfortable with the proposal that was circulated this morning, but I also understand the rest of the council has not had a chance to consider this as much. And also the other members of our ad hoc subcommittee should have the chance to weigh in with other council members. So perhaps next week is really the best time to consider this.
Staff
Councilmember
could
Ryan.
turn it from memo form into legal language during that time.
And then
as
we
well.
can amend at that time. Councilmember Ryan, I welcome your
Okay.
input.
And I too would like to see the area on Rucker to be the elevation of the main street versus the average of the four centers. If there's some way you can put language in there, I think that for that specific area, I think it's good. Councilmember Ryan, do you have something?
Yeah, for the neighborhood commercial, I agree and support the comments about limiting the time from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. I think that seems like a reasonable expectation for neighborhood business comings and goings. I was hoping so looking at the map for proposed eligible locations, I have concerns that the allowable locations have been directed by individual council members, which is fine, but there's definitely some areas on the map that aren't as colored in as other areas. So I was curious how our at-large council members, since they are representatives of the full city, have had a chance to weigh in, or like how have they had a literal stamp on the map? And another mention too, that in 8 months, 4 of the 5 council members may not be the same people. So it seems have a hard time agreeing to a map where an individual has been able to draw the whole thing, and that individual may or may not be here in a few months anyways. Just saying.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Councilmember Vogely.
I just want to make sure that the LISC and Connect Casino Road and District 4 residents and that we all remember, even though they were here reminding us, that staff and folks in the area have worked very hard on making certain that at least maybe our area won't be gentrified, and inclusionary zoning is going to help with that. And I would be thrilled if we were 15th You know, we can't be first or even up to 14th, but if we could be 15th, that would be great. And I can't say any of it any better than anybody did. So I just want to make sure that it is well known that inclusionary zoning is kept within, and that hopefully nobody makes an amendment to change that. I also wrote down level of service standards and the apartment strategies for multimodal. I'm not sure if that's something that seems pretty intense, and I don't know if it's already been sort of implemented into this comprehensive plan, but it has certainly piqued my interest. And so I maybe for at least future, if we can't do something about it right now, I want to put that out there in the ether. Thank you.
Okay, with no further comments, Councilmember Bader.
Well, yeah, not on the comp plan, but I have a question before you adjourn us.
Go ahead.
Question before you adjourn us, but not on the comp plan.
Okay, all right, any other comments or questions and any other thing that council would like to cover? Councilmember Bader.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, just want to clarify, a budget committee meeting next Wednesday, 5:30?
Yes.
Right? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Ryan.
Thank you. I do have one more comp plan. There was the request from first name Eric, last name starts with N, for the Terrace Drive adjustment, and just wanted to confirm if that has happened. I promised him I would. It's like probably 47th on the west side of where kind of Rucker sort of turns into Evergreen. It's a one or two block stretch.
Could you take a look at that with?
Yes, I will send you the
and,
information to
yeah.
confirm. It's okay. It's 10:15.
Thank
Eric
you.
Drive, it is ringing bells,
Right, so
but not all the way.
bring us a map and amendment next meeting. Councilmember Fosse.
There was a mention of, I think it was it Alice or somebody speaking to council members about their specific district? Is that correct?
Allison did, yes, long-range planning manager, I think reached out, worked mostly with the 3 council members that were working on it, and then reached out to the others at some point, or took comments that were made in a meeting, perhaps.
I would love to speak to Alice. Note out there. The hours of operation, I noticed that's not going to have a negative impact on existing commercial that's there. Like our mini marts and stuff like that. Because I know in my neighborhood, we have a mini mart that's on a corner. Had a couple of them. And sometimes they.
Yeah, let me look into how legal nonconformity would work with respect to operating hours.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Zarlingo
I'll
at
make it brief.
10:14.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
The comment about where and when we do with respect to the neighborhood commercial, and part of the reason the different zones in the city look different, feedback from the council members to Alisanne's memo, but also there's a regular street grid in parts of the city that, and where there are some other mini marts and similar things, and then parts of the city that just don't have that grid or are very well served by other businesses. That's part of what we're trying to do. And I think your comment sometime back, maybe it was Alisanne's as well, about hoping to have sort of one Everett and have things be consistent, but we aren't there yet. We just have a city that's got too many different zones. So I think that's part of what this coming here and why I welcome the inputs from the other council members.
Okay, I'll just finish. Please if you guys have thoughts or amend for something, get them very quickly, and have it mapped out and ready. So thank you very much. And thank you everyone out here in the audience for staying with us tonight. And with no further business, meeting's adjourned.